Hi guys, welcome back to PJ Maybe's Wheel of Time chat with myself and Jim the Viking.
Hello, everybody. Welcome
yeah.
to the show.
So I'm hoping we're going to have a good few here because a secret spoken finds wings, as the book tells us. So hi Archer, thanks for joining us. I hope you're a big Wheel of Time fan because I am. I love the books. I've been reading the books for over 20 years. What about yourself, Jim? How long have you been reading the books?
So I'm not 100% certain of the timeline, but I think I was just getting off a little bit of David Eddings. So the early days of
The
Bulgaria.
Belgariad. I
Yep,
need
yep.
to reread them as well.
And I was in the library, and for some magical reason, I just managed to get hold of the first book, The Eye of the World.
Yep.
And it's just pure chance that I got into it. And it's like, I did not put the book down whatsoever. I was just pages after pages, and my parents were hating me. It's like, put the book down. You're supposed to eat dinner. It's like, well, I finished all my greens. I've been a nice boy. Why can't I continue reading the book?
Yep. The way I think, as Archer says, he's only heard he's heard about the book. He's not read it, so hopefully he'll learn a bit about it, and hopefully we don't mess it up too much. So, as I say, the wheel of time turns. The ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend that fades to myth, and even myths, and long forgotten when the ages that gave them birth come again. That's the tagline for the book. That's
It's
the
a very,
tagline.
very good, very, very accurate one when it comes to what the storyline really goes.
Yeah.
This has happened before. It will happen again.
Yep, and it is. And the first book, which I'm assuming the Amazon series will be based on the first book initially, maybe season one. Hopefully, they might. I can't see them doing a season per year because there's no way they're going to get 14 years out of it. I think what they're going to do is maybe a couple of books per season.
They're going to try, definitely, but they will have to establish the enemies, the world, because it's such a massive world around.
I think the first book in the first season would be great. Because remember, the first book starts off with our 3 male characters and 2 female characters getting brought in. So you start off with the Aes Sedai, Moiraine, and Lan, her warder. It introduces the 3 main characters, Rand, Perrin, and Mat, and the 2 female characters, Egwene and Nynaeve. And as it transpires, they have to leave their home and travel, which is great because although it starts setting off certain aspects of the book, it's when they all split up. They get split. So you've got 3 sets of storylines. You've got the set of storylines with Perrin and Egwene going off one way, meeting up with the wolves and the traveling people, talking about the Aiel and the White Cloaks. Then you've got Rand and Mat going on their way, and that talks about dark friends. It talks about fades and things like that. So they get things from a not knowing perspective. So you learn what they have to do and the type of people they're dealing with. Then
one quick thing there when it comes to the fades is basically the name is really Myrddraals or Myrddraals, however you want
Myrddraals, aye. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I know because it's a TV show, it's going to have to compress it. So they may only go with one of these names. But knowing a name carries a certain power because if you just go like it's shady, it's just somewhere over there. But if to have a proper name to them and know that these are really dangerous creatures, literally feared by all the Trollocs,
Yep.
then Egwene or no, so he means Egwene.
Aye, I know, aye. And Nynaeve, it does sound...
It does. I do agree with you there. They do have a little bit of the, shall we say, the English mythology. Although I do have an overarching feel that the book is more placed within the Asian mythology, which Ronins and all of that kind of sense that comes from it.
See, I got the part, it's not a set mythology, because I think Robert Jordan actually did something very unique where he brings all the mythologies together. The Asian mythology I thought he brought later on when the Sonshan appear. To me, that was the Asian mythology coming. Whereas
they definitely had more of that kind of characters, but we don't have the equivalent in, say, real life history books.
Yeah,
because
of course not.
What if they did?
Mm-hmm.
They may have not properly. They may have probably been acting this way and saying, "This is our land. You go away. We own this already."
But that's what I'm saying. So the way he's got it, so there is the whole land of the Wheel of Time is in effect one large landmass with all the different countries on it. Not like it's just like one large landmass. However, you have got it takes bits like the Mongol hordes, so the horsemen. So there's certain cultures within the landmass which are horse cultures. You've got ones that are, it could be African cultures, just based on how their culture interacts with everybody else. You've got European cultures mixed in there. That's what I'm saying. It just seemed as if they had a lot of different cultures and he's brought them all together. So it's got a lot of different backdrops for a lot of different things. And he's brought it all so well together. And I think I'm worried that the Wheel of Time is going to actually dilute it. So nobody could be, if you look at one of the characters, you can't say, oh, he's from this place. It's not, he's from Tyr, he's from Andor, he's from the Borderlands, he's from Illyana and stuff like that. Whereas in the book, not only people's looks told them where they came from, but also their dress sense told where they came from. Yes, dress sense you can have across, but like if you had
well, Rand is a perfect example of this.
An
because as soon as he gets outside of his village, everybody and anybody is mistaking him for an Aiel.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. So the night, I was going to say Nynaeve, the Aiel. What type of culture in the historical past would you class them as? To me, that is more of an Arab culture, because it's they are living a hard life in the desert environment.
I would say the discipline is far too high for just simply being a religious.
Yes, but it's just bits and pieces of different cultures, and they've brought it to create a culture. So like that. So that's what I'm saying. It definitely brings different cultures, different time frames together in such a way it makes it an interesting time frame. It's basically the world is, that's what I'm saying. The first part where they split up. So Lan, Moiraine, and Nynaeve. Nynaeve learns from Lan and Moiraine about certain aspects of the world. Mat and Rand, when they're running, learn aspects of the world. Even because you had Tom Merlin
Oh.
with him as well. So he was teaching them parts like going down the river and stuff like that. But you've also got Perrin and Egwene going off and learning different parts of the world. So instead of them growing as a group towards Tar Valon and learning these things, it would have been more narrative. Whereas this, because it's split up, they were learning things out of necessity, and it was explaining the cultures around the world. So you would have snippets here and there of Aiel. They would talk about it. The prince would talk about it to Rand. The traveling folk would talk about it to Egwene, and Lan would talk about it with Moiraine while Nynaeve is sitting. So it's things like that. The first book, I think, builds the world. It's
it does it so well, and
yes.
Something that he capitalizes on is you get the 3 separated parts, and they each learn something because they were sheltered when they were in the 2 rivers. They were sheltered. It was like Trollocs was just a legend, but when they get out in the world, then you have which is Egwene with the traveling folks. She learns a certain aspect of the world. These are the truest pacifists that ever existed. They wouldn't even fight Trolloc that just came in to just slaughter the entire village. And you have Perrin that is basically being raised by wolves, if you put that sense. He learns that fight is sometimes necessary. And then you have the weight of the world on top of Rand's shoulders.
Yep. Then you've got Mat, the suspicious one of the group, based on the dagger from Shadad Logoth.
But he already has
the angry one of the group who's learning out of necessity because she wants to bring down the people who she sees as destroying the boys' and girls' lives from their tranquil village in the 2 rivers.
But so for the longest time, I would say her mission seems to be to reset everything. It's like, just bring it back the way it was. I don't want any change. I don't want anything to go on. But she has to learn, and that's probably why she has such a long struggle connecting with the one source. Because Nynaeve is just a pure natural, whereas Egwene is a pure natural, whereas Nynaeve isn't. She has to be angry to do something.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. If you look at the characters, each character individually has got a good character arc for themselves in the book. None of them, you would say, you know who it's gearing towards. The first book, you know where it's gearing towards. But it's only because a lot of the narrative is down that route. But each of the other characters all have a backstory. Their character are built very well. So you know Egwene wants the travel. She wants to be an Aes Sedai. She enjoys the traveling folk. So there's an arc there of her being more determined to do things rather than just be the tavern a tavern owner's daughter. You've got Mat, the playful troublemaker, shall we say, who gets dragged into this world where he's constantly scared. Things happen that make him not a nice character, but how he fights against it, how he becomes very distrustful of everybody, and how he asks questions, which is good because it drives the story forward, because Rand with him has to talk to him, has to explain to him how things are and how he's been a wee bit OTT the other way. And I think what they should do is, the book are very good for that, because Perrin's going from being a very quiet blacksmith to being a warrior wolf brother. and who can commune with wolves. You've got L'Oreal bringing him in, the Ogier.
Mhm.
One of my favourite characters in the first book, L'Oreal.
Well, it was like a massive 10-foot tall guy,
Uh-huh.
like the humblest being on the planet, and he's like, all I want to do is read books.
Yep, he wants to learn, he wants to put his knowledge to good use. But it was the fact is they introduced these characters, and each and every one of them, they spend the time to give you a backdrop for them. Even the dark friends they bring in here and there, you might only see them for, in effect, a couple of minutes. But that couple of minutes, you know why they did it. They know what they're after, because you bump into someone who knows them and just talks about them, or just the way they act
Well,
that scene.
I
Just
think
shows what they're
something
after.
will be missed in the TV shows here
Why?
if we're going to start touching on the Dark Friends, because I may misremember this, so you can please do correct me, but isn't there a meeting where there's tons of hooded people, it's like that they're wearing hoods and robes, so you can't identify who they are? They're getting the download for the idea of what they need to do, but they don't get to know what each other do. So they just
And a
go
lot of them
back
hide
down.
who they are so other people don't know.
Yeah. And that's part of it. But that for me is like, wow, there's really an overarching master plan from the evil guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we really want to do this. We are really going to make this happen. But
yeah, see, I want to see how the TV show. I'm skeptical of the TV show just based on current
not just
politics
Transformer,
out
I
there.
think they would not be able to even tell it if they had.
I don't think they can tell it well. The problem is they've got a great book series that is in a matriarchal society, because all the male Aes Sedai went crazy hundreds of years ago after fighting the Dark One, and he put a blight on their half of the source, which caused them all to go crazy. So male Aes Sedais are hunted. Anybody who shows an inkling for touching the one power male are hunted by the Red Adger, or any
and not just hunted, viciously hunted.
Yeah, but that's
there's zero tolerance. There's no forgiveness.
Yeah,
if you even show the tiniest spark of it,
but
and
even
you happen to be a man,
every nation in that world, with the exception of maybe one or two, the power behind the throne, up front or in secret, without the people knowing, is the Aes Sedai. So it's the women pulling the strings. It's the Amerlin Street. It is the White Tower pulling the strings of the thrones. So it doesn't matter if it's a male on the throne, a female on the throne. There's an Aes Sedai whispering in their ear. So it's a very matriarchal society. However, the society still has powerful male characters.
Yeah, so I just saw Archer's comment in the chat, and unfortunately, this is the wrong kind of matriarchal society, because this is actually a matriarchal society that can get stuff done.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. They don't, apart from the Red Adger, who dislike men across the board and they hunt for this. But although it's a matriarchal society, you've got the strong men, because you've got an Aes Sedai and her warder. She's the power wielder. She's the one in charge, but he's the protector. They're the ones who are throwing themselves into the physicality of it all. And it's not as if the Aes Sedai are actually expect to keep up with that, because that is their power. Their power is the one power. So they could be small, weak, they could be tall and powerful, but they don't use that. They use the power. It's the males that do all the physical, the fighting and stuff like that. So you've got the strong women,
the negotiations with like a barkeep.
Yeah,
that's usually the warder, because they're stepping up and going. It's like, okay, we need this, don't screw us over.
Yeah.
That's what Lan does. That's what all the other wards do.
Yeah.
They're there to protect and make sure that it's fair, it's even, there is no nonsense. Because one thing I like about the whole Wheel of Time is, yeah, magic is good, magic is strong, but will definitely not give you everything.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping the modern showing doesn't mess with it, because you've got powerful male characters, you've got powerful female characters in the work, and it is a matriarchal society, but it is powerful male and female characters.
Yep.
The males show respect to the females, the females show respect to the males. It's just that because of the taint in the male half of the source, the males in it are powerful males, not strong in the power males. Whereas the females, they've got strong in the power, which gives them a lot of power. But on the whole, most of them don't misuse it. It's the same as you've got a big, powerful guy. Just because he's a big, powerful guy, a very good fighter, they don't misuse it. So you've got that type of thing. So you've got good, powerful characters. You've got evil, powerful characters as well. You've got like the Forsaken, for instance, males and females, most powerful out there. And the things that the Aes Sedai could do now pales into insignificance to what could be done in the Age of Legends, and the Forsaken are locked away. So it's things like that. The first time you see them, it doesn't come across as that. The first time you notice that is later on in books when Lanfear turns up. You see the power of the old Aes Sedai, because Lanfear has been locked away in the Dark One's prisons for 1,000 years. But she was powerful when she went in, and she's powerful now. However, whereas the Aes Sedai put her there were powerful, the Aes Sedai now are a lot less powerful. They're very weak in comparison. They're strong because of the things they can do, but it's a lot weaker than what they used to do. I think as you read the books,
times, isn't she? So she is from where they had the artifacts,
the Sangreals and the
Sangreals, yes.
But she's more powerful without a Sangreal than a group of Aes Sedai with Sangreals. So although they use the Sangreals to increase their power, she's more powerful than a group of them because of the time they were born.
She's essentially from the age where they didn't just like take them and use them; they actually made the Sangreals.
Yeah. So yeah, and you as it goes through, but I think the first book, the only thing I had a criticism of the first book, which is it's a bad criticism for me, is I think he's realised he's made Moiraine too powerful, so he had to step back and make all the Aes Sedai, even Moiraine, less powerful later on, because she seemed to be able to do things that they're telling you they've lost a lot of these things, but she could still do a lot. So if she could do a lot, then there's more powerful Aes Sedai. They must learn. They must know a lot. Yet they're saying that all the ones in Age of Legends knew much more. There seemed to be a lot she could do, and I think what they did is they rolled it back a bit. So she did have limits. She didn't know everything, whereas in the first book, it's almost she did know everything. It was really weird.
Well, it is kind of the slow introduction, though, to Aes Sedai in terms of you have no clue as a reader, literally cracking open the book and like lifting page 1. You don't know what Aes Sedai is.
Yeah.
So yes, she is giving a little bit more power than she should have, but it's supposed to be more representation of this is what the Aes Sedai do. But if you take something like the White Cloaks, they constantly keep capturing Aes Sedai. They're just normal men. They no magic, no nothing, but they keep slaughtering them left, right, and center.
any chance to get, yeah. Hence the reason why the Aes Sedai need warders, because there's people out to get them. Because the White Cloaks call them witches, the Tyr hate them, the Southern Borders love them because they help fight the Trollocs. The Southern Borders are, is it Southern? It's Northernmen.
I always consider them Eastern, but that's just the way I had the map in my mind, because
Yeah, it's
when
one of those.
they run from Two Rivers to Camelin, it feels like they're running north, but then they're going east. And yes, okay, so before they reach Camelin, that's where they split up, but it
Yeah.
feels like everybody's going east.
See, I've always taken it the other way around, but I'm going to dig out the book just to give me that point of reference. So,
It's just purely what is in my mind, because I don't think I've actually bothered to look up a proper map of the world. Yes, I know the Wikipedia or Encyclopedia exists for it.
right, that's it there. That's the world.
Yep.
Right. So you have got, that is the world of it. So you got the Arith Ocean. So
Just to give people scale,
to the north,
from Two Rivers to Camelin, it's what, 4 weeks?
Yes.
Hard journey.
Yeah. So to the north is the Blight. So that's what all it's all. So it's all the Northmen. They're not the Norsemen. They're the Northmen. They're the medieval knights. They've got the lances. They've got a fighting tradition. So that's like a medieval setting. The north. Then to the south, you've got Elian, Atala, Tyr. So, and you've got Cairhien to the north, south, west, east. So the east, I have to always remember. And you've got the Flame, and you've got I'm just trying to find, and Andor is right in the center of the map, near enough. Slightly to the south, but in effect, it's the center of the map, Andor, and that's where the Two Rivers are in Andor. So it starts off in the center of the map. So the people from there don't really know a lot about all these bits and pieces out there. So
if that's the way the map is drawn, because the way it's described is the Two Rivers, the Andors, are such a far outskirt as, we can't afford to send the kings and queens soldiers there to patrol the highways to make sure that they're keeping the peace. But if it's at the absolute center of the map, that doesn't make sense.
It is, but to the west, you've got the mountain range, which is the mountain of mists, and that they don't know what's beyond it. Remember,
yeah.
But yeah,
again, this is like what we talked about during previous live stream. Is you read a book, you start to form the character,
yes,
the physicality of how they present, how they move, how they walk, the way they talk. Even if you're listening on an audiobook, you're going, it's like, okay, I like your narration, but you're getting that voice completely wrong.
See, yes, Sharp, Richard Sharp. The first books I read, the Robert, I was going to say Robert Jordan, but it's not. Who did the Sharps books? I can't remember off the top of my head. But the first ones I read, it was actually audiobooks or books on tape that long ago. Books on tape, people.
Oh, please turn to the other side for the rest of the story.
But the thing is, so I was listening to them in audiobook, and the guy who was reading them, Paul Gamanara, put the voices to the characters. But see, when I first, so you get a picture in your mind based on his voicing and the way they're talking. So when I first saw it, See, Sean Bean played Sharp, and the one that played Patrick Harper, who's meant to be this big, powerful guy. To me, in my head, the one that played Harper was Sharp, and you needed somebody who was a bigger, more intimidating guy to play Harper, because the Harper one, although he was big guy, a bit bulky, the way it came across on screen, he was more like the Sharp one in the book. And it's a weird one. It's one of those things that it was, to me, actually just didn't really work. Although I did love the Sharp book, and I'm trying to remember who wrote them. It's terrible when you do that. Anyway, well, we're talking about that. So I'm listening to them in audiobooks. I've got all the books. I did read the books, but getting old, boys and girls, so I now listen to everything in audiobook. I have got the occasional ones that I still read because they're easy reading and probably get print that size on it. So probably my age is actually showing. But yeah, I like my comics because I'm not getting a comic book in Audible because I don't want anybody describing all the bits and all the panels. Cornwell, aye. Bernard Cornwell. He was the one, yes. And I loved his books as well because they gave you the history as you were reading the books. So, like, for instance, the French soldiers in general, they sort of pictured them like the German soldiers in the Second World War movies. The German soldiers were all bad, but if they had to come across a singular one, then they were just normal people. It's just that they were just background characters. So, like the German soldiers in a lot of the World War II movies, they were generic, bad background characters that you didn't need to bother if they all get killed. Same happens with the French ones. However, when they're talking about the French and what the French did to the Spanish, they're so descriptive that actually you're sitting there thinking, no wonder the Spanish guerrillas used to treat the prisoners they got that way, because it doesn't matter how good the people were, they were dragged in and they would do nasty things because they were effectively told these people are nothing, so you can treat them like nothings. It's like during the Japanese during the Second World War are a different Japanese army than the First World War. Because the Japanese army during the First World War was very...
They were still under one ruler, weren't they? They
were under the emperor, but the thing is, the difference was their army was a traditional army brought up with a code. So they would treat their prisoners well and stuff like that. Whereas during the Second World War, their army changed their training method to the Bushido one, which effectively is everybody who is caught and taken prisoner is beneath you, have lost all their honour, so they're nothing. So you can treat them any way you want to. And if you want to be nice to them, you're bad. So it was the Japanese training that made the Japanese such a disliked, shall we say, characters are people. But it was to do with the way they were trained, because they were trained to treat people like nothings. Same as the Germans in the Second World War, their political thing behind it, they were effectively saying you're superior, everybody else is inferior, and you can treat them as if they're non-human. So anything you do to them is fine. Don't blame yourself. So it was the way they were brought up to be that.
But there is a lot of that, shall we say, I wouldn't say touching, but it's that overarching feel is like even just Dark Friends.
Yes.
Considers just normal people.
Yeah.
To be less worthy. Not.
Yeah, because they've got no power, no interest in claiming power. Yeah. So jealousy, greed, lust, whatever was the reason they went to the dark side.
Yeah.
And then they get dragged in further. As soon as you're in, that's it. You get dragged in further and further and further.
Yeah, and once you do what's called shaitan,
yeah.
Once you get dragged into that, you can't say no anymore. Because you said yes once, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Which is Rand's really major battle. It's constantly saying no. Because Shaitan is offering him so many
world.
things. Yeah, he's offering him so many things that literally, when you read a book, when you go along, it's like, you know what? I've been stabbed, I've been cut, I've been hurt, I've been mauled, I've been attacked, I'm constantly chased. Suddenly, someone says, an absolutely gorgeous creature will be your wife for life. You're not going to have to run. You're just going to sit there. All you need to do is obey me. But it's still that catch. You have to obey me, which is literally the enemy of free will.
Yeah.
And that is something that really gripped me. And as I said earlier, I came from the Belgariad series, where the question isn't so much an oppressive evil force. It's more a question: what right would you have to square off against the god and potentially kill the god as a mortal? Do you even have the right to do that? And that's why I still love the Belgariad and Malorian series, because they do ask that question, and they do ask, it's like, faith, your path is set. And I will say I do recognize a little bit of it initially in the Wheel of Time, but it quickly breaks out because you get the idea that Rand is really headstrong. He knows the Aes Sedai is trying to keep him on the leash, but he doesn't want it. Perrin is extremely, for his kind nature, Perrin is extremely mistrusting of the Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Mainly probably because of the angle he's coming from, and it is even to what the Aes Sedai is acknowledging. It's the old walls are breaking down. There are new powers. There are new things that we don't know anything about, but we have read and we have historical knowledge that these used to be common things.
Yeah, they are, and it is, and that's why I like the first book. The first book brings all these in, and just think me Archer. So the guy who wrote Sharp, Cornwell, he also wrote another series of books, and it was all about the Vikings. So it was the shield wall type thing. Yep. But there's also some good series of books like Simon Scarrow's The Roman one. That's the Ego series. That is really good as well. Con Igenson did some really good one, and that's I think that's more along the lines of Arthurian legend ones. So the good thing about Cornwell, the reason I like his Sharp stuff is because he understood the battles. So he understood things like how musketry, cannon, and cavalry work together. And he's the very same with the shield wall. So he understands the tactics. He understands how they're used. So he's very good with that. Same as Simon Scarrow understands the Roman way of battle. So those type of series, I like them for the fight sequences because they make sense, but you've also got a lot of character development. Whereas the Wheel of Time, the initial battle sequences, the descriptions and stuff like that were absolutely amazing. When they were talking about the battle with the Norsemen and the Trolloc armies, or even things like the battle in the Two Rivers with the Fist of Trollocs, which is roughly about 100 Trollocs. A fist of Trollocs fighting him, and you've got Moiraine and you've got Lan fighting them. They're very well described.
This is where I think the TV show will go really wrong, just based on what I've seen. It's they're not gonna make Trollocs scary. They're just gonna be vast in numbers.
Do you know what they're going to be? They're going to be Lord of the Rings Trollocs, orcs. That's what they're going to be.
Although I will say this, Aragorn's first proper outing against an Uruk-hai captain. Holy crap, that was a really good battle scene, because I was starting to sink down in the seat in the cinema. I was just going like, this is a nice story. And then suddenly it comes like, throwing his shield. He's
Yeah.
stuck with his head against a tree, and there's a shield, and he's coming with his sword. He's gonna decapitate him. It's like just half a heartbeat. I mean, he should have gotten a proper haircut just from that slice alone, even if he managed to get out of it. But that really brought it to life. And I think there's something that is missed from the Lord of the Rings is the Uruk-hai captains, even though the books don't really do battles and scenes like that, they were feared for a reason. Even amongst their own orcs and everything, that they were meant to be really feared. Although it doesn't carry the same fear like you have for take Matrix. The agents, literally up until the last 2 minutes of the film in the Matrix, Neo fighting them, deciding to go up against them. Yeah, you get the feeling that he may beat them, but it's not a guarantee until he wakes up, finding that Trinity loves him.
Yeah. I'm never a big fan of them. I liked the first Matrix movie. The other ones I just found they were pants.
I'm ignoring them. The first one is a proper good story.
It is,
and
because actually
the bad guys dangerous until the very, very last minute. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a film like John Wick.
Oh, John Wick!
John Wick is superior from 15 minutes into the film. You know he's gonna kill everybody.
Yeah, I did like those ones. There's something I was going to say. Do you want to have a look at the Amazon trailer for The Wheel of Time?
Let's go ahead, because I've only seen the very early one, what's for like 20 seconds.
But before we start, I've not seen it. I must admit, I haven't seen it. I've heard people talking about it. I haven't seen it, so I don't know the cast. I don't know how the trailer's going to present it. I've heard things.
I know Rosamund Pike is in it. That's my name.
Aye, but that's what I'm saying. So I'm not entirely sure who's in it and how the characters or whatever. So, but the thing is, I would like to expect, I suppose, the Lan Moiraine dynamics. You have to have a petite Moiraine and a towering Lan. And when the two of them are fighting, she has to have such grit and determination, and he has to almost be going round her like a dancer, because the battle moves of the sword, they call it the dance, and it is because the flow from stance to stance and attack to defense and it's stuff like that, and that's what I want to see. See, like the what was the Star Wars one? You had not the one with Yoda fighting Dooku.
Although I do like
you look at the one with Maul.
Power blender of Yoda just going, it's like
yeah. No, you look at Maul fighting Anakin and
yes, that's a good one.
That flows very well, and I think that's the type of battle sequence, the fighting sequence, because they just looked as if they were flowing from stance to stance with the attack defense, and the three of them just looked as if it was a dance when they were fighting. And that's, to me, how Lan and Moiraine should work. Moiraine should be standing there, weaving the power, destroying things here and there, and he's dancing around her, keeping all the danger away from her. That's the way I see it.
It's the very same thing, but I have a slight difference in he's not towering in physicality. He's towering in he just feels dangerous. He feels like pure fear on 2 feet.
Yeah. No, the reason
you're talking to a very dangerous person. This is not someone that you would try to scam or.
Yeah, do you know why I'm saying towering? Watch, I'm going to take the two of us off the screen for a split second, right? That book that picture I just showed. That was the first book, and to me, that's how it should be. That he towers over her, but not only the picture actually shows it, but you look at the descriptor of the type of characters. She was quite petite, and he towered over her. There it's there. Right, hold on. There it's there. Look at that. She's quite petite, and he towers over her
Yes.
because he's
But that's mental image for me. I'm not caring that he's 24 foot tall. It's more he's that big in stature.
I bet see, you can get away with that, but Tom Cruise can have a big personality and thing me, but when he's standing next to someone and he looks like a kid next to him, he's no intimidating. That's what I mean. You have to have somebody that's got a stature that when you look at them, you think, oh dear. You have to have somebody with a powerful look about them. And no matter how much of a personality and presence someone has, like for instance, with Moiraine in the book, when people saw her, they just saw this petite wee woman, which underlined, it basically hid her power she had. So she didn't need to be tall because it was her power with the power, which actually dealt with that. Whereas they would come up and they would say something and it's almost an offhand because you're just a woman. And then Lan would step behind her and they would go, oh, because his presence just was intimidating. Where in effect, she was the most dangerous one, but her small petite size hid that. So people actually concentrated on him.
Described thoroughly quite through the book. It's even being described to Rand. It's he's carrying a heron sword or a heron-hilted sword,
a heron-marked blade. Top right hand corner. That's the icon in the book.
Yeah, but it is still the fact that there's even, I think, even in the first real big society thing in Caemlyn, one of the guards tells another important person he's too young to carry a sword like that, but if you look at him, he carries the sword as though it belongs to him.
Yep.
That is the kind of presence. I couldn't care if Rand was like 11 years old, like 4'5", and not even 50 pounds soaking wet. Thanks, Darren. I've added it to my very ever-growing list.
I think I read
you guys are costing me so much money in books to buy.
I think I read that years ago, but I need to go back to it because it's as the Wheel of Time says, ages come and pass, and it goes to myth. And I recognise the name, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was about because when in my youth I used to read every day, 7-8 hours a day. I would be sitting up at night,
Oh, the flashlight under the sheet is like, oh, Mom's never gonna see this.
Oh no, that was comics. That was comics. I'm talking about when I was a teenager. When I was first married, I had my 3 kids. Basically, they would be running riot, and I'd be sitting reading a book. I used to read we always say my first one's the more intelligent one because, as you do with your first child, you do all the things you think they need to be done. Like I would read a book every night to my daughter, or I would read a chapter of some of the really good books that I had to my daughter as she was growing up. My second daughter got slightly less because she would just get bits and pieces, but she was not as interesting, so she would fall asleep. But I would continue reading because my third daughter would just look at me as if to say, "What's a book?" But then my oldest daughter, she grew up. She's actually she's a big reader as well. So,
well, I will say this: I don't think good fantasy or sci-fi is generational, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes, my mom used to have a Betamax with recorded Star Wars films to babysit me when I was a toddler. And I was just going, oh, lightsaber, pew pews, X-wings, whatever. I didn't even know the names, but it kept me distracted.
Yeah.
And she was reading Shannara Chronicles to me. She was reading Ursula K. Le Guin and stuff like that. She really heavily introduced me to fantasy, but I don't think they influenced me too much. It was more a discovery of my own that this is what I really like. Because
Yeah.
I've read tons of books, and you're supposed to read all the Shakespeare, and there's what is he, Scottish or is he Irish? The guy that wrote completely without punctuations or like capital letters. He was just describing a day as he was like walking through the city and was like sitting down at the park bench and whatnot. But there's no punctuations, there's no capitals. It's just like a lot of word in a book. These are supposed to be like the big novels that you're supposed to read, but none of them really gripped me if you compare it to something like Robert H. Heinlein,
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke, Tolkien, Eddings, Jordan. They really managed to build a complete world, a set, something that was a complete escape, but you wanted to read more because you wanted to learn more. They are on the different rules, but they're still facing the same kind of problems we are. How are you solving something? Someone is evil, did something bad. They didn't really mean to, but they do have a darker side to them, and they may do it again. So how
Yeah.
do you deal with that individual? And that's where I think, for me, sci-fi and fantasy brought it best to life. As how do you really deal with something when it becomes complicated?
Yeah. A couple of things that I've read Orcs. I've got it on Audible. It's still in my playlist, but I have got it, and I have listened to the first chapter, the preview chapter, and it sounds really good. So I have got that in my list, but I've got a few books to read in front of that. And the cast pitch, Mongols, fairly generic, tall, Japanese, not sure, fantasy Scots, Vikings, gentle giant, steampunker, definitely a varied selection. See, if they were all from all over the world of the Wheel of Time, that would be perfect. But if they're all meant to be from the same village in one wee corner of the world, it doesn't work. If there's mix in that, because just because as a society now we're multicultural, but if you go back 50 years, 100 years, if you look at any village in any town in any country, they're going to be homogenous of them. They're not going to be
So that's the
a
massive
variety.
criticism of The Witcher. It's a Polish. Um, I don't even know how to describe it. It's Polish ghost
Folktale.
story, folktale, yeah, from like 900 years ago. There were no Arabs in Poland 900 years ago. There might have been one visitor, like a diplomat or something.
Yeah.
There may have been an Aztec, maybe. That's extremely unlikely, but it might have been. But no, there wouldn't have been. Half the cast is from different continents. There wouldn't have been 200 Japanese soldiers coming from Japan, because Japan, even by their own history and like description, is like, nope, we liked our island, we stuck on our island.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Very
until like
isolationist for a while, it's the Japanese. But see that the 2004, you think when it came out, are you talking about the Orc book, or are you talking about the Pendragon cycle? If it's a Pendragon cycle, then no, it can't be the books I've read. So I don't know. So Wendy, what book are you talking about? Are you talking about the Orc book? or the Pendragon one. And let's see. He used to I don't know who Perlindine is.
I still like the concept though.
I do.
Taking a book to the cinema because
I used to do that. Well, mine's were the wee comic books you used to get in a wee book format.
yes, I do remember
I
them.
used to
Mainly
get
it was for me the Donald Ducks and everything.
I think they were called pocket comics. They were called, and it was literally just a cut down version of a story in a comic, which was literally just a wee thin, and it was just cut down so it could fit in your pocket, and everything was half the size. So I used to take them, I must admit.
Instead of typing to Archer, his question just popped in here. Foundation, it is on my radar. I'm definitely tempted to watch it. I'm actually tempted, although I'm new to streaming and I tried a couple of YouTubing before, but that is one that I'm actually curious to just like watch it and then do like a heels versus babyface like review, because I do know Asimov not too well, but well enough that if I do not agree with what he was trying to say, what he was trying to convey as a message. No, Archer, sorry. The Witcher does not have a single crossover with Stargate. There is no like pyramid spaceship just transplanting people. No, I will not buy that at all.
Right, I get who Perlindine were. Yeah. The thing is, right, I am worried it's going to be the descriptions of it. I want it to be a good TV show. I'm worried it's not, because I think they've put stupid identity stuff into it. Like, for instance, for instance, right, Lan, there was a descriptor, somebody who looked tall, Oriental, right, very tall. So I'm assuming he's Land because he's the big. If he is, then that means all Northmen, because he's from the north. He is the king of Malkir.
Mm-hmm.
So that means when they go to the north. All those guys dressed as knights have to be the same race. You could have the occasional one here and there who has gone to fight the Trollocs because their family was born there, but 99% of those border forces have to be the same. Don't care. So if
I will give it a slight lenience to it, because some of the border force, or whatever you want to call them, they do feel the call. So they
that's what I'm saying. So a majority of the people there have to.
The majority of the people should look exactly like Lan.
Yes, and that means they have to be. So if it is like a Japanese, Chinese, East Asian army, they have to be dressed as knights with their lances. They can't be traditional Japanese outfit or traditional samurai armor. They have.
I can't wait. If that happens, I can't wait for the current woke crowd to just go, "Oh, that's hang on, brown people can't appropriate cultures."
Yeah, but even if it's the majority of them are Chinese, Japanese, or whatever, Korean, and they have got this similar Oriental look to them, that's not the issue. The issue is if they establish that Lan looks like that, then that's how the Norsemen are the Northmen, the border men. They're called the Borderlanders. They have to all look like that, and they have to be dressed like knights, not weird armor and stuff like that, because it's established in the book. So they all.
I will give it a slight tweak. So if you take Aragorn, the way he looks in the Lord of the Rings films, I'm not talking about the artwork from the books, everything that's been around for like 60 years, but from the film, he obviously has disown to a certain part his heritage because he doesn't want to become the king.
Yes, but you
he
can
would
disown
obviously
your heritage,
the
your
most
root of your
practical.
country. Your country will
Yes.
always be there.
Yeah, but he would have adopted the most practical thing. But there would still be traces in his practical outfit, which he has adopted to become a ranger, just walking the wilderness on his own,
Yes, but
to what an
Lan
army
has
would look
never
like.
actually been described as that. He has disowned his Lord of the Seven Towers, and he's disowned that because the country is gone, taken by the blight. But he's still got the honor he was brought up with. He's still got his duty, and duty is heavy as a mountain, death is light as a feather. So his duty is heavy on him. So although he's taken up as a warder, he was trained in the borders. So
It's something that
he still
Moraine
has,
hates.
that is part and parcel of who Lan is. So what I'm saying is, if they go down that route, they have to continue it. So when they go to the borderlands with the blight, it has to be all similar. They can't suddenly have a bunch of white guys or a bunch of black guys or a bunch of mixed, because the borderlands are set in the books. So that is the culture he came from. It's the same as if you go to Tyr. They're all high lords this and high lords that. It doesn't matter. They don't really mention anything else. But you can't go there and then they're all stoating about as if they're all dressed normally, and you're sitting there thinking, has anybody read the book and the descriptions of the high lords? We're not talking about the normal folk, but the high lords of Tyr and stuff like that. They have to look a particular way. The people from Tyr have to have a particular
an
dress
amazing
code.
part that you're actually touching on, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's in the second book, the Great Hunt, where he's separated, but he's joined with Lanfear for the first time.
Mhm.
But because Moraine has been pulling the strings behind the scenes, he doesn't have his farmer's clothing anymore. All he has is just
the silk?
fancy
Yes.
clothing, and he enters. It's a city, I believe. I read it as a village, but it is a city. And because he's so well dressed, and because there's so much political scheming going on, the people that he encounters just see him really well dressed, and therefore they believe he has power. He got something. We need to get him as our friend.
Yeah,
We need to show
that's
him
also to do
what
with the names. You look at the names: Alvir, Althor, Albara, right?
Yeah.
In the Two Rivers in Andor, they're just surnames. Rand Althor. You've got Lan Mandragon. They're just names. However, in the borders, anybody with the Al. So he is Al Lan Mandragon, as in Al is Lord Lan Mandragon. So because you've got Rand Althor, they assume he's a prince. He's a nobleman because he's got the honorary Al in front of his name.
Yeah.
And it's things like that.
And that's something I learned. I wouldn't say the hard way, but when I started getting geeky in my very early years, I took it because you needed a username. And from Bulgaria, I just took Bell Cyborg.
See, I took
and I was told I can't use it because I'm neither benign, a lord, or have a rank. I can't use it for my computer name. But I'd love the fact that my fellow computer geeks had also read the books. So for the next, probably 5 months, we were just discussing nothing but Bulgarian.
Yeah.
And all of that was going on. But it all came about because I chose it when I joined the Computer Society. And they just went, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
use that.
Well,
That's wrong.
when I first joined YouTube years and years and years and years and years ago, PG maybe wasn't my first choice. That was my character. A wee night, who was called Pieter Al-An. And it is because of the Wheel of Time, Al-An. Or Al-Lan. So it was basically taking Lan's thingy. So, and Pieter was my Dungeons and Dragons character name. So it was P-E-A-T-R-E, Pieter. Loved the way they spell bog standard Peter was Pieter, and I thought, I like that. But that was my wee character, and it was basically I was Pieter Al-Lan.
You see that actually back. My name is As Fantasy, but it is role-playing game based. It's from Diablo 2, the original one back in the 1990s. And they had a hard game mode. If your character died, that was it. It got deleted. You lost everything you ever farmed on that character. And max level was 99, and I had reached 97. And I got asked to help someone, and I thought, fair enough. I'll jump in. I'll help you. Very difficult section of the map. I do all my magic and everything, and I'm pretty much wiped. I just need to pop a few health potions. But just as I do that, a sneaky bastard goes into player versus player mode and just nukes the living daylight out of me. And it was on a Viper part of the area. So ever since then, 1997, 1998, my nickname has, well, my username has been Viperbait. I will kill Vipers whenever I see them. It doesn't matter what the game is, or if it's like tabletop Dungeons and Dragons. If there's a Viper, I will stomp. I don't care if I roll triple snake eyes. I will try to stomp it.
See, I'm the same. I play Magic the Gathering, and there is a lot of politicking in it. However, if one of my friends actually likes playing and he plays no politics, if I'm attacking a player, my object is to get you out, which I love. I think is the right way to do it. I don't like when somebody holds something over you. If you don't attack me, I won't attack you with that. First thing I do is everything attacking him. But you're going to get killed. I don't care. I don't like that type of politics. As in, see this guy, he could kill you. But if you don't touch me, if you don't attack me and take half my life,
you
I won't
see,
kill
Magic
you.
the Gathering, it brings me out to the immersion when your opponent is just going like flipping over the card and shouting, I got this one.
No, this is when it's on the board, you can see it. So you know it could kill you. But they'll say things like, well, if you don't attack me, I'll use that on him.
Yeah. Well, when you do the three-way tournament, that's...
And usually people playing. We play Commander, which is a 4-player or more set. We can sometimes have 6 people or 3 people, but it is a multiplayer game. But it's when I just do not like that. I could kill you, but if you don't attack me, I won't kill you this turn. No.
You see, whenever that used to happen, and I haven't played Magic the Gathering since about 2005 or something, but whenever someone threatened with that, oh, if you don't do this against me, well, my move was usually, I will attack you, that threaten me, and I will lose the game, but I will boost my other competitor that's sitting to my right, or whoever it was, it was 3-way or 5-way, however, it's like, I will boost them so they will kill you. You will not win either.
Yeah, I'm one I don't like it is I don't like the nuclear. If you touch me, I'll send that guy to kill you. Tough. That threat just actually gets me to actually attack you more. So I might die the next turn. It just means somebody else is going to live long enough that, because obviously I get offered a deal because you're weak, so I'll not attack you and kill you if you don't attack me. So which means I can ignore you, and I don't like being ignored. So I don't like those politics. But I love the politics of it because there is the occasional, listen, I want to build this up. Let's see if you leave that card for one turn. I want to activate it for one turn. Then I'll give you a favour. That I don't have issues with because sometimes you play a card, you want to see it activate once, so you give it a shot.
But you see, I brought a Serra Angel. I believe it's Serra Angel. It's the white card that has the life and attack and defense based on your own life. And in a 3-headed tournament, I brought it to 168 attack and defense with trample.
Yep, that's the work. It's the Serra Angel, basically. It's lifelink, and you can give it trample at any time, but the life is based on your life gain. So if you've got 100 life, it's 100 creature. Yep. Then if you give it trample down, but yeah, there is a lot of cards like that. But sometimes you just want to try and get them activated once. Sometimes they're that powerful you can't be allowed to activate them once. I'm aware of those cards as well. But as long as it's slowed down, I don't have an issue politicking to get something played, just at least activated once. Even if it gets killed straight afterwards, at least it gets a chance just to see how it plays. I don't have issues with that. But Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's amazing, though, how Wheel of Time did bring us into this, because it does have a few of those magic spells, but also you were talking about the politics, because that's something Rand has to fight with really early.
Yeah.
It's whether it's against even Lan himself, and Lan is a really good ally of him. But to bring it back, and I have a feeling we're looking at Nynaeve and Egwene, and
that's what I think. That's what I think. Just in this picture, this is the very first part of it. So I'm assuming that's Nynaeve and Egwene.
You see, I have no idea with race background or anything, but I do recall them being described more fair skin, light hair. Never explicitly, but I have them more as that, whereas the people they encounter are definitely not two rivers.
Yeah.
So if I would say, if they're starting on this level, so these are Middle Eastern-ish, then the people they would meet, they would all be basically white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. So they would meet their opposites, because that is why they're standing out when they're running, when they're fighting, when there is something going on. They're standing out because they don't look like they belong or are from this region.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the book, they're hiding a lot, and they're hiding by blending in. And you can't blend in if you stick out based on one physical attribute. So if you're hiding out in London, it's not an issue because you just basically dress fairly normal, hat on, and you can blend in. But if I'm wanting to hide out,
if I went to Lyric, I could probably blend in. But if I went to
South
Africa or South America, I would definitely stand out.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. They have to have a bit where, if they're, because they're in Andor, which implies they're all the same. Land doesn't stands out, so he does, because Land is, in effect, an outlander. His mother, as far as he was concerned, his mother was from not within the Two Rivers or from Andor. So his dad met her when he was out, as he was a soldier. So that's why he's got a very distinctive look. The truth is known that he's got a look because his father found the baby in the middle of a battlefield, and the mother took it in, and they just said it was hers, and it was just newly born in their travels home from war. But if this is how they're starting it with the two of them, it's not an issue. But every other female in the village, every other male has to be dark haired. They can't be too white. They have to have a slight sallowness to their skin, so they all look like they've grown up and been born, because it's all to do with the history of the Manetheren. The land used to be Manetheren. It was scoured by the Trollocs and Mindrils, but the people survived, and this is 1,000 years on with the blood of the Manetherens. That's why they're all so stubborn and so proud and stuff like that. They're saying it's the blood of the Manetherens. So if they're saying everybody is a descendant from the same city, and in effect they have to be very similar across the board. So if they're actually saying people here are slightly, they're not pale and pale white, they have got
But the only one that can stand out here would be
Rand.
Lan and Rand. They would be the only ones standing out against
the only ones that
everybody else.
I'm talking about just the city people, the only people from the Two Rivers I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Moiraine or Lan because they're outsiders anyway. But from the Two Rivers, they're all descendant from the land of Manetheren. So they have to all have a similarity to them. So slightly different in colours of the skin, but they can't be all white, this colour white, pure under the sun, under the big beaming light.
Not the gammon that I have from the sunshine.
They have to have. That means the whole town, the whole Two Rivers, the whole thing has to have that a slightly sallow skin. So either going from a tan look to darker. They have to because they're all meant to be descended from the same group of people. You can't have people who literally do not look as if they were brought up they're descended from the same people across 1,000 years, but they all look completely different. You're sitting there thinking that's not how it works, because you've got a generic genome. It basically comes down the line, so there'd be cross marriages and stuff like that, but it would all be from the same location.
And it might have been, say, one.
You can't get it
because marriage outside the village.
Well, whatever. You've got Rand's mum.
Yeah,
she was an outlander's come in, but I'm not talking about the I'm talking about the village. So you can have the occasional one here and there. Don't have issue a couple here and there, but you wouldn't have all of them. And Egwene and Nynaeve, accordingly, that's who they are. So that's what IMDb. But if they're
from the book,
so I'm hoping it's not going to screw our sound up. But I will watch a wee bit. We'll pause it. We'll talk about it.
I'll put this on mute. So play when you're ready.
Okay.
Be strong.
So,
what pushing Nynaeve into the river?
Why would Nynaeve throw Egwene into the river? Be strong, because I know they were saying she was going to be training her to be a wisdom.
Yeah, but the wisdom is being trained by the elder council of the ladies.
No, she's not. She's not being trained. She's the wisdom of the village. She basically.
But this is earlier, before she gets that.
But no. From the very beginning of the book, remember, Nynaeve was the wisdom. She was the strong-headed bull type that wouldn't take rubbish from anyone. She wasn't getting trained by anyone. She only got trained in the past by Old Mother, whatever her name was, the old wisdom. So she is now the wisdom, and Egwene, she's starting to think about taking Egwene as a trainee to be a wisdom, because she feels as if she's got something. So Nynaeve was under training. It's only after they leave the Two Rivers that she has to get under training under the Aes Sedai.
But you see, for me, on the first screenshot where it was frozen, I had two characters switched around.
No,
for me, the one pushed for me in my mind, that was Nynaeve, the wisdom, being pushed by Egwene, but Egwene would not have done that.
No, because Egwene
I
the
do
younger of the two.
find Archer Collins' comment quite kind of funny. It's not attempted murder. It's part of a ritual.
It's a training montage.
Yes.
But so I took it as a case of Nynaeve's training Egwene, so she's putting her through some tests. Is this a can you swim test? Can you put up?
So we're jumping into fairly late into the books, though, I will say with this.
Well, it starts off because remember at the beginning there is discussion that she is going to be trained as a wisdom. So that the trailer is effectively trying to establish the relationship between the two. So that part of it, I can understand. They're actually implying that these two, she's training her. So it's taking a wee bit of a liberty with how far the training's going or what she's doing, but she was only talking about it. Right, let's go next. I give it.
The wheel of time turns.
Oh, I had to go back a wee teeny bit.
I'm not liking this.
That's Perrin, I'm assuming Rand and Matt. The one in the centre.
So left would definitely be Perrin. Matt is in the middle, and Rand is to the right.
Yep.
But I don't like the modern look of the tavern.
I don't really like that, but you look at Matt and Perrin. If that is basically a similar idea to Nynaeve and Perrin, they've got a similar hair color, a darker skin.
Aesthetic. I would definitely say this is like Greek bronze brown skin.
Yes, it's more Mediterranean look. Whereas you look at Rand, he does stand out.
Yep.
He's a lot lighter skinned, and his hair completely different. So yes, so far, based on the main five characters,
we got a good start on that aesthetic, but I think Perrin is a little bit too big.
But I think sometimes with these books, they try and modernize it and make it look a bit more modern. No, that's not how you think. Because it just looks too clean. Yes, Egwene's dad ran it, the mayor, and he did keep it clean. But we're talking about not modern clean.
No, you see this kind of clean, because I've done role playing for past 25, 30 years. This is what I would expect from a lord's tavern.
Yeah.
Like a king would come in to this establishment.
And obviously this is just a quick picture because yes, you can they would have well-made tables because that's what happened. Someone who was a good carpenter.
No, Archer, this is not Anakin. It's definitely a different character because Anakin now has a beard matching Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh God, I know.
But so far, aesthetics.
Yeah, but aesthetics, it actually is just for that, 11 seconds start off of the video is actually quite good. So let's go a wee bit more.
Still though, pause.
Which was that bit there because you saw the two of them in the initial part of the book, the two of them sort of had feelings for each other. And
even so, but if you looked at Rand, his clothing is really luxurious. It's not rough spun, whatever it's called. He looks to have some decent clothing on. How are you gonna ever dress him up properly without
because
bells and whistles and epaulets and
he's maybe a sheep herder.
Yeah, he's meant to be a sheep herder, and you're telling me that's what the sheep herder looked like? He looks to be a rich person to me. He looks to be really wealthy.
He looks to be one of the more well-off people. He'd be like the mayor's son, a wee bit more powerful where that's Egwene. So let's see what they do with this. So that I'm assuming is the party. So that is Lan, Moiraine, The 3 boys and the 2 girls. So 7.
No.
That looks like
There
5.
should be 6 of them,
7.
and
6 of them.
Nynaeve
Yes, Nynaeve
is
joins
taken
later on.
safely.
But it depends on what part this.
But I
actually
see
is.
only 5. Here.
I can see only 5, but let's see.
Leaving memories
No, there's 6 there.
that become legend.
So that's part of the wisdom training.
Yeah, that's
thing.
exactly what it is. That's a training from the White Tower. So literally, it's jumping bits and pieces all over. I'm assuming that's the part where the Nynaeve goes in for the wisdom training. But that looks a lot of Egwene going in for the novice training. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that is. But that's what that reminds me of. It is the training for the wisdom, and which is nowhere near anything in the first book. That looks amazing for the White Tower, doesn't it?
Well, if it is the White Tower, because the
Yeah,
White Tower is
I
coming into
I
a
always
lot
had the White
later.
Tower more square and taller, but that just looks amazing. It fits the world at the moment. Because you've even the mountain in the background.
Yeah, which would be the Dragon's Mountain.
Dragon Mound.
Yeah.
But I
that's
think
actually a nice touch. I didn't really clock it, but
yeah,
if that is that mountain, that is a really nice touch for the visual.
Yeah, because remember, it was the battle at the White Tower that the Aiel attacked, and it was on the mound of Dragon Mound where the dragon would be reborn.
Yes. So that's basically where Rand was born.
That's basically where Rand was born. So that's what I'm saying. But that is the visuals there. If they continue with this set of visuals, it's going to look amazing. Right. And the point of it is a series story these clips are taken from. Yeah, quite agree. It could be the first, it's anywhere within the first season. But if the first season, and these are from the first season, then they're obviously, I would say, covering the first 2 books. Just the fact that they're jumping here and there. Because in the first book, you don't see Tar Valon. They talk about
Archer, technically the mountain in the background is a volcano, but it was magically created by the king.
It was created by the Source.
Yes. So it's literally his last effort. He was trying to bury his enemy. The guy, I can't remember his name. It's basically, he's not Shaitan. He's the guy
who pretends to be
for him and teasing him.
Belan or Bel Dramaded. It's basically a betrayer of hope.
Yeah. So basically the guy, this is literally the first 10 pages of the book. He's driven into madness, but his last effort is to bury him. And he just literally makes an entire volcano mountain.
Yeah. What I'll do after we've reviewed the trailer, we will look at there is an early pilot, and it is based on the first part of the book about Lewis Theramon Kinslayer, and it's all about him going his madness, and it was done to try and keep the rights. It's a bit cheesy, but it is. For the first part of the book, it is very well done.
It's dialogue heavy. It's focusing on the communication between characters rather than the stuff around, which is absolutely amazing in my mind.
Yeah. Don't think about it too much as the volcano. It is Dragon Mound. It is basically it was created by the One Power. And I'll put a link in the description, but I'll also put it in the chat for the early pilot for the Wheel of Time, because the company had the rights.
Just give a little bit of anticipation.
Yeah,
that was the dragon that made that mountain.
Yes.
It wasn't just someone with magic. It was the dragon that made the mountain.
So let's see.
The power inside.
Moiraine.
Yes.
You. All over the world, there are different names for it.
That must have been something to do with the training that Gawain got thrown in the water. Don't know what that's to do with. There's nothing really mentioned like that in the book. So
in terms of the first book, I have no clue what this scene is supposed to be representing.
well, in the first book, nothing, but this is effectively the Ajahs. So you've got the red Ajah who hunt for men who can channel. You've got green Ajah, the battle Ajah.
Yep.
You've got the yellow Ajah. They
blue,
are
white.
the yellow Ajah are the healers. The blue Ajah are they're not the diplomats. What are they? They're the diplomatic, aren't they?
I'm confusing
they're
them with
the
brown
searcher of-
Ajah, because brown Ajahs are the ones that love
Brown
both.
Ajah here are here, right? There's the brown Ajah. They're the ones, the seekers of knowledge.
Yeah.
You've got the white Ajahs who are the logic. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you've got red, green, yellow, blue, white, brown.
Yeah, Archer, sorry to say, you want nothing to do with the red Ajahs.
No, you don't want it to do with the red Ajah. The green Ajahs are the ones you want to be. The battle Ajah. So I'm trying to think. So the brown Ajah are knowledge. White, there's 7 Ajahs, so they are. So there's 5. Red. These ones here look it, but they're not black. Black
It isn't. But it could be the Amelian throne, but we don't get to see.
There's the Amerlin's throne here, right in the centre.
We don't get to see who sits in it yet.
No, you don't at the moment, but it's you've got the Ajahs, so you've got red, green, yellow, blue, white, brown. What was the 7th colour?
Black.
No, black is
no, black isn't used.
Black is the evil Ajah. They are not mentioned. They're not as part of it.
Yellow
is there.
Yellow. So yellow is there. So we have red,
green, yellow, blue, white, brown. I'm just trying to remember that. It's basically right out of my head what the 7th Ajah is.
Yeah, it's gone from my mind too. It's like
grey.
No,
it's grey. It's grey because grey are the diplomats. They're the ones I was trying to think of.
Was
grey are the grey
I
are
thought
the
grey was for the novices.
No, the grey Ajah. There's difference. The novices wear white.
So we have white here.
The novices wear white, and the accepted wear white with a 7-colour band. So although you've got a white Ajah, that's different from the novice outfit.
Yes, they had to wear an armband or something. Yes, now I do remember it.
So it's a grey, because the grey were the diplomats. The white are the logic. The basically the ones that basically are the puzzlers. They use logic to dictate. I'm just trying to remember what the blue Ajah did. I can't remember.
That's a really good question. Is that? Yeah. I know the brown are the curious ones. I know the greens are the horny ones. I know the red hates any.
The greens are the battle Ajah. They're the ones that'll go. They don't hate men. They love men, and they basically are in the middle of most battles.
Yeah, but they do have the more flirtatious nature as well. They don't take the vow of, "Oh, your warder is off limit." It's like, no. Can I have 2 warders, please?
Or 4 or 5. Some of the green Ajah could have as much as 7 warders, and it's basically because every battle against the dark one, there's always somebody from the green. That is why it's called the battle Ajah. They're the ones that are always there with the men fighting. So that's why they've got larger warder pool.
I will say though, we're about 40 seconds in. And I'm feeling fairly tempted, and it's like they got potential. It's a little bit too clean.
This one here, where you've got all different. So you got black people, white people, you got Asian people, you got
But
Because-
that I could care less about. But
no, that
it-
works because the Ajahs, it's nothing to do with where you're from or whatever. It's your
yeah,
choice.
it's
isn't
what
it?
you choose
But
to
it's
become.
from
But
people from all over the world come to
if you look at the wealth displayed in this scene alone, that is, if you were a king or queen driving your kingdom, and this is the throne hall you're coming into, you're going, oh crap, I'm gonna have to kill like 400,000 peasants with taxes just to get something like this.
Yeah, but no, the fact that they all looked at that is fine because they're meant to come from every square part of the world. So they come from all over the world because everybody who has got a spark of talent in the One Tower goes to the White Tower. Or they run
That's a key thing we didn't touch on when discussing the book.
the book.
They're desperate.
The One
They're
Tower
desperate.
the One Tower is split into two, the male half and the female half. Hence the reason why you've got the circular logo. Let's see if I can dig out. I think I've got a circular logo somewhere. I think it wasn't very good. That's why I get rid of it. No, I can't find it off the top of my head.
I might have misspelled it though, Colin. It might be Aja with an H.
No, AGIA. I think Aja.
Something along the line. It's been years since I read the book, but yeah.
I think it's AGIA. Aja. It's. Let's just say the pronunciation's fine. Doesn't matter the spelling.
It doesn't matter the accent either.
Yeah.
We don't have it, but there might be some.
Yeah. But there you go. And that looks absolutely amazing. So far, no issues. Let's see.
But it's one thing.
No.
He was no the Amelin. No way is that the Amelin.
No, she was, as my memory serves me from the book, she was tall, blonde, aging, almost grey hairing.
No, she was a similar age as Maureen because the two of them were accepted together.
They were, but she
That was
aged
20 years. But
more
no,
from stress.
that part doesn't, I mean, because they've got a person. It doesn't matter that she does look a slightly older than I would say she's middle age or early middle age. So, but remember, the Aes Sedai are ageless. You can never tap them down.
They're ageless to a certain part. When they get really old, it gets noticed. But
yes, but
they can be
a couple hundred years old.
25
They
or
could be
55.
and they would look the same. You wouldn't be able to put an age to them. So when they get to their 70s, 80s, 100s, then they start noticing. But it's only they still have that ageless look about them, but the white hair and the stoop, things like that. But no, I think so far, if she's the Amerlin, it's fine.
I like the dress though. I'm not sure about the tattoo.
I like that because obviously you never see the power. So in the book, it's easy to read in about the strands and stuff like that.
You see, this spell looks like it's gonna just wipe out this entire, 12 buildings?
That's the two rivers. That to me is the battle at the beginning of the book.
That's way overpowered, because how are you gonna start describing the really big battles when you call the horn?
Exactly, but you look at that part there. Just that wee part there where she's healing, you just see the power, the strands flow into her. I think the way they've actually shown
that works completely for me.
Well, I think that works well. Let's see.
One power. And women who can touch.
And all she's doing is pulling in the power, because that's what she would do before the battle. She would pull in as much of the power she can handle. Red Aja, you can see.
I don't like these outfits.
Yeah, the outfits just look too battle. See, if that was the Green Aja looking a bit more ready for a fight, yes.
You see, the issue I have is they're too clean. These women haven't traveled for 6 or 7 days. They walked 15 minutes out the front door and then went into battle.
You look at the description of Moiraine, and any time they come into an inn or whatever, she looks pristine.
Yes,
They
she
tell
does,
you. There's
but
the
it
part
would
where they
still
say
be-
she even Moiraine looks slightly worn because her dress is slightly creased. So because of they use the one power, they use that to keep themselves looking pristine. That don't have an issue with, because they said that throughout a lot of the books, that they still had that pristine look to them. And that's, to me, is them using the power to keep the dust off, to keep it clean.
Even so,
No, I
Christine
think that
looking,
works.
Christine looking after having traveled for like 70 days or something, you would just look slightly better than you should, but there would still be a little bit of wear and tear showing that you've been traveling for a little while. Is there a religious message to Adya? Yes, there is.
There is
They're very devout to their particular color. So if you're a red Aja, you have no mercy whatsoever toward men that can wield the power. If you're brown Aja, you love the search for knowledge.
If you're stuck in a library for 14 days, you'd be happy. That is the thing. But see this, right? This looks like a battle Aja. Although the red Aja are out to capture men, no, that to me is how the Greens would dress. They would dress for battle.
Yes, I agree with you there. This should have been green Aja shot, because the red Aja don't really get their hands dirty unless there's time to kill or gentle a man.
It looks, because there's got the severeness of the red. I think that picture works for the red as well. It's only slight parts of their outfits look too ready for a fight.
And for me, it's just pure cinematography. Again, I agree with the magic, keeping the costumes nice and clean, but not this clean. This literally looks like it was 5 minutes before this shot was taken. It was taken out of like a deluxe, whatever commercial, pulled out of the laundry and just
read the bit where Lan, Moiraine, and Nynaeve are traveling in the first book. How Nynaeve is jealous because Moiraine, she's up before Nynaeve wakes up. She goes to bed. She goes to sleep after, even if they're sleeping in the thingy, she looks pristine. There's always that about how she looks. No,
but you see that for me, the pristine is more about the hair is always nicely combed. It isn't that you don't look travel worn. It's even though there is like a speckle of dust on your shoulder, you still look very good for the rest of it. But this looks like it comes from a washing detergent commercial for me.
See, I can't agree with that. Only for the simple fact is, every time they've mentioned throughout the book, they're always talk about how they look, and it's basically they stand out. They look even in a king's court. Aes Sedai would look as if she's outshining the queen, and it's always been about that.
I'm fully with you on that. I just don't think that what I'm seeing on this screen at this very second, that is not outshining any queen, even of a country of 2 people.
Yeah, but the cleanness of the cloth, I don't have an issue with. What I have an issue with the way they're dressed is that's more of a battle Aja's outfit. Their austere looks, although her in the centre just looks as if she's putting a wee bit too much on. But
she's just had a tequila shot with the lime.
These two here look as if, very stern, very austere, very no nonsense. Don't care what you think. We're the Aja, that's it. But their outfits just look a wee bit too. If there was a green Aja, yes, but their faces portray red rather than their outfits.
We protect the world.
Nah, don't like parents.
He had a blacksmith's hammer, not the double-edged axe.
He had an axe at the beginning, but the axe was very specific.
No, he had a bearded axe, which is single.
I thought that was Perrin.
So who's the one standing in front?
Who's the one with the axe?
The redhead.
That's not Lan. It's not Lan. It's not because
it's not Randy either, because he was short.
There's Nynaeve because she's got a pigtail. There's Egwene. She's taking her hair out.
No, she hasn't yet been given the permission to braid her hair.
She did. If they're outside,
Yeah, she did later, but this is
no, but if
supposed
they're
to be
outside
very
the
early.
Two Rivers, if they're outside the Two Rivers, it was the night before Beltane she got permission, and that's when Rand first saw her. And as soon as they left the Two Rivers, she took it out again. So she only had it for a short time. That is not in the town. There's no way that's in the town because he's going about with the axes. No,
You see, I think we're getting very nitpicky here in trying to remember the actual timeline, but I do like
I'm
the
actually
aesthetic
on book
between
one.
the braided and non-braided, because
She
that
had
actually
it braided only for a short time because she got it braided the day of Beltane. The Trollocs attacked the night of Beltane.
Yes.
So basically, she'd only had it the one day. Then they all fled the next day. She met up with Moiraine, and then after that, she took the braid back out. So she only had it most, I would say, a week.
And I wouldn't even say that long, but now we're getting down to like the really nitpicky part, because
took a day or so.
Rand's first recollection of that is seeing her as the living decider from the farm.
Yeah.
And it's never seen ever again, at least to my recollection.
They obviously took time to get their hair.
Well, I would think it was a big part of Two Rivers culture, wasn't it? It's like how you wore your hair, that mattered.
Only adults could wear their hair in in pigtails. So children didn't have pigtails. She got the permission from the Women's Council to be an adult. So she get to braid her hair. Rand sees it. The next day, that night, everything gets attacked, and he comes back. So he spends a night, right? So he sees her. He spends a night and a day bringing Tam back, right? So the next night they leave. So that's 2 days. It takes them a day to get to the Taryn Ferry and cross, and then they camp. So that's 3 nights, and it's in there. She speaks to Moiraine, and it's within a day or two after that, her hair is out of the pigtails. So that's what I'm saying, maximum a week. I think it's been about 4 or 5 days, but that's what I'm saying. And yeah, I'm always cynical when I look at these things. But so
before you say any more, I'm gonna give another thing here, which is what I was complaining about the Red Ajah. Do you see how pristine that turquoise color is on Egwene in the middle? Look at the battle axe. This is supposed to be a farmer's village. They haven't heard about war or Trollocs for 1,000 years.
I think this picture is after that, because Perrin didn't have his axe until after it. It could be a week after, but what I'm saying is this picture has to be after it, because Perrin used to
look at the guy's trousers on the right. That's pressed trousers.
Yeah,
there's not a single crease in them. He has no magic. They definitely did not.
I don't know when this picture is. This picture could be any time, book 2, 3, anything, because the way the pictures looked, that was Perrin. The one that sits on his right was Perrin. That was Matt, or that was Matt.
Because I may be too nitpicky, but the trousers worn by the guy on the right-hand side, there is not a single human that has ever sat down on a chair with those trousers for even a second.
See, I don't see that. It's
you see, I think the clothing is.
I think the clothing just always looks too clean. Yes, I think these things, because they don't want them to look dirty.
But you see, this is where my frustration is coming from, because Rand's transformation from a shepherd to the fancy rich boy,
they'll just
it's like, I'm wearing really fancy clothes.
They'll put fancier clothes and they'll all be bright colours. I don't think they'll go for fancy as in compared to the other woolen type thing. At the moment, this is the only part I do not understand, because he's got the axes. That was meant to be Perrin, and as far as I understand, this was Perrin.
But well, if this is a battle scene in the village,
It's not
I
because
do
that
not
looks like a-
understand what Egwene and Nynaeve is doing there, because neither of them are battle capable at this point in time.
But that's what I'm
They
saying.
are getting very
It is.
strong later, but at this point, they know nothing.
But no, the thing is, this is not in the village at all because
You sure?
Perrin has his axes. Perrin only was shown with the axe when he was leaving the village because
He's dual wielding axes. If you see that, if you look slightly
two
to
of
the
them.
left,
He's got
it
two of
looks
them.
like it's a double axe. It looks like he
looks
has
like
a
a double axe,
similar
but
axe.
He's got two of them, and Perrin only had the one, and it was a single bladed axe with a spike at the second half.
It's a bearded axe.
Yeah. So this is not, even if it is this is meant to be Perrin with the axe, Disney work because it's not in the village because he only started wearing the axe after they left the village. So
Yeah, and there's another thing that tells me this could not or shouldn't be the village. This is in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
The village attack was nighttime.
Yeah, exactly. So this is nothing to do with the attack. The fact that the battle axes are out, but I don't know where this is, and I don't know who these are because if that's meant to be Rand, why is he wearing an axe? Perrin was the one with the axe, and if this is Matt, why is he wearing a shield?
Yeah,
never mentioned. So this could be.
but even so, they could just be villagers.
They could just be people, and it's just a wee clip from later on. Let's have a look. Oh, there, look.
Oh, so we have completely misinterpreted that scene because that lady is definitely an Aes Sedai.
She's an Aes Sedai, and he's an archer, so he's no Perrin.
Yeah.
Right. So
she's an Aes Sedai, and probably one of these guys is a warder. Probably the shield guy.
I would assume.
And she's green.
The three of them could be our warders. So.
Oh, well, she's green.
Oh, missed that bit. I might catch it a wee bit earlier. There.
Right. Yeah, it looks like a green party, but there are three red dressed people there.
Right, that doesn't make sense. If this is meant to be Moiraine.
No, she would definitely be standing out in blue.
Aye, that's so. Is this meant to be Lan? Who are these?
No, Lan would never have left Moiraine.
No, I don't know who these are because that is not the party we know. No, because there's a couple with a shield and the sword. So this must be.
I do like the size of the war horses. That they look like proper horses.
They do. But whatever this party is, it's definitely not the ones we know. Right, that was Rand.
Yeah, that was Rand, and I believe your red hair that it's the White Tower.
And there you go. That's Matt because look, he's got the daggers from Shale Ghul.
But I'm actually underwhelmed by the dagger look. Although that's just nitpicky because such an evil thing, I would have expected more light on it rather than.
No, the thing is, remember initially he was just looking at it. It was only as it took over. So I think that was actually quite a good shot because there's the wee glint to it. It just looks like a dagger, nothing special apart from the ruby in the center,
which is the source of the evil. Yeah.
And it's basically he initially, as he said, he picked it up to look at it, and then he get dragged out of the room. So he didn't get offered something. He took it and he had it, and they wouldn't listen to him when he tried.
He hid it for the longest time as well.
But after
again.
I was
my extreme nitpicking here is it's a big, expensive production show, and if you look at the background, that's Merlin BBC low budget cast set.
No, but remember where it's meant to be.
Shadar Logoth. It's
Shadar Logoth, which was a falling apart city. So yes, looking rough as hell and being drab and grey.
Not this clean.
No, it's not clean. I can't see that being clean because you can see look at the the rocks just basically.
No, that's way too clean for me.
No, because
Well, again, like we said, in the books, you get your visualization.
but even like
I
that,
would
they just
expect
walk through
here-
kicking up dust, and there you go. There's the dust mites and particles in the background with the light hitting them. So that to me doesn't bother me with that, because I think because we're not entirely sure, that could be just they stepped into the room. They've no kicked up a lot of dust, so just a wee bit of dust motes here and there, and it's the light shining through it. Could work, but I'm saying the dagger part and things like that looks.
But even on this shot, I will give you one more thing. If you look at his clothing, it really looks like this is worn by a farmer, a farmer village boy.
I'm just
It's
looking
not
at Archer Collins.
L'Oreal.
It could be L'Oreal. It can't be. L'Oreal is an Ogier. An Ogier stands. I think whoever's going to do the Ogier is going to be a CGI.
It's definitely going to have to be, because there's so many reference to his ears drooping when he's shamed.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be very like Harry Potter and Hagrid. They'll be
You see, my envision of Loyal is more like Shrek, but instead of green, he's blue.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Archer.
Thank you, Archer.
See you later. Right. Yes, but no, I'm saying is I think the L'Oreal will be like I'm saying CGI, but it could be like the Gandalf and Bilbo or the Hobbits, because they would picture it in certain ways so it was slightly off, but when they had
he definitely have to tower over even Lan.
And they did the same with the Harry Potter with the Hagrid. It was the way it was filmed. So I think it's not going to be someone who looks human. He's going to look sort of bestial, but he's going to be a big tall one. He's not going to look like a Trolloc, but he's going to be that type. And I think
that's going to be the challenge, because the first time Rand meets him,
he thinks
he literally just jumps back. Trolloc.
Yeah. What happens? An angry face.
That shadow logo, definitely, because I saw the shadow creeping. So you see the shadow coming from the background there.
Yeah.
But I always envision it as a mix.
So the wolves are going to be there. So it looks like there's a lot from the first book, but there's definitely parts from later on that I can't identify, because they're definitely not the first book.
Yeah, they're definitely jumping around a little bit, but they are keeping to the... I haven't seen the village, but we have seen shadow logos. We have seen the knife.
We did see the village. The bit where Moiraine is dragging all the power into herself.
But it wasn't showing me the village, as in knowing where the inn is, where the blacksmith is, the stuff. It was just showing like an overall cost.
See that the only part there I've got against with Perrin, he needs to be thing because he's meant to be a blacksmith, so I think he needs to have a bit more broad shoulders. That's the only thing.
In fairness, this guy looks fairly big.
He does, but I think he looks sort of broad, but he doesn't just look powerful blacksmith built like a brick shithouse Perrin broad. But it's not.
I'm going to give him a chance. The only issue I would have is if he's too tall, he will not fit this. I do not understand the implicated sex scene, because these are teenagers.
It's Hollywood type, so they would actually do it if they were kids.
So that's a game.
I don't think that's to do with it. I don't think it's a sex scene, I must admit. I think it is.
Are you telling me that's not the sex scene? It looks like they were just finishing having fun.
No, I think that is when they are getting cleaned up in one of the. I don't think it is. I think it's. I was going to say Charles Dance here, but that shadow logo. Look,
that's too clean. Shadow
no,
logo.
Because remember, nobody's going through it, so there's no dirt getting kicked up and dust everywhere. The only time you would see it is if there's thing, but to me, that looks like Shadar Logoth. It's just there is nothing. The wall hang, there's no wall hanging, nothing. And that to me, that's Shadar Logoth. That's when they're meant to be. So it's still again the first book.
The wheel keeps turning.
That's bell time. Just prior to bell time.
That's actually quite nice. I mean, if they manage to do this, and this is something, you know,
But the thing is,
from such a big book, is the lore, the dance, the rhythms, the everything.
But
So if
bell
they can
time
do
never
that,
happened.
that's-
Remember, bell time never happened.
No, it didn't, because he had to go back to the house with his father.
And
So
they were
he
going.
didn't get to partake.
Turning.
Remember, bell time never happened because it was the night before bell time, because bell time was meant to be the next day.
Yeah.
So
that
and they
was
were going to
kind
go
of cool.
back the next morning for bell time because that's what he says, and then they got attacked that night. But and they're implying that as bell time because they went from the dance to all the bodies in the circle, whereas in the book, the bell time fires were getting used to burn all the bodies of the Trollocs. So it was insane. But they're for some reason going from they had up the party, and then the people in the circle are now bodies in the circle. To me, it's sort of that. I think
But
these two are different. I don't think this is to do with it because look, who's
but
who.
you have red and green are just there, or if that's what's supposed
that's
to be.
what
But
it is,
there's one issue I have with the shot. You say it's dead Trollocs. No, I see dead
I
humans.
didn't say it was dead Trollocs. I said they've gone from dancing in a circle to being buried in a circle, whereas in the book they went from he was looking forward to the bell time bonfire to the bonfire being used to burn the Trollocs. So this one is all implying that all these people who were dancing in a circle are now buried in a circle, just based on this part. And it goes from the dance to this. It's implying that they had the bell time and they got attacked, and the ones that were dancing in the circle are now buried in a circle. That's my interpretation of it. Whereas in the book, it didn't happen like this.
This is where I'm struggling a little bit, because the bell time or pre-bell time attack, if you like, they only targeted 3 houses.
Yes,
Perry, Matt, and
anybody
Rand.
got in the way.
They didn't care about anyone else, so there wouldn't be this many casualties at all. They would literally just running past them. They didn't care because they were under the order of the Myrddraal.
Because they were more concentrated in them. However, if somebody got in their way, they got hit.
Yes,
So,
but even so, it was like not even a fist, as it's described in the book. It was just a handful of Trollocs.
No,
like
they
5 or 10 of them.
There was a fist because there was 4. There was a fist. That's what he says. There was only about a fist, so about 100 Trollocs in the 2 rivers.
Yes, but most of them did not engage in the attack. Most of them were still outside, which is where they're being tracked later on. It's like, oh, this was actually a fist, and how did they manage to get
it's
this?
not like 5 or 10. They're talking about there was a load because remember, in Tams, basically he killed 3, Rand killed 1, and there was still a load of them hunting them. So you're talking about 15 Trollocs went to Tams. So yeah, a fist easily. Just the difference is they were concentrating in those places looking for them, but still people got hit because they basically got in the way of them. So the numbers I think are a bit high. I would say probably half that, but still it's not just there wasn't just 5 or 10 Trollocs. There was a larger number. Just based on the fact is what you read about at Rand.
The thing is that the only 3 things that were targeted were the blacksmith, where Matt was, and where Rand was. And where Rand was, the battle was, I believe, as you described, I think it was 4 Trollocs. It's only until later when Rand is dragging his dad's body through the forest that he comes across what appears to be a larger army. but they were never engaged in the battle.
No,
They were just
there was
searching.
4 Trollocs killed.
Perrin's, the blacksmith, is only burned down.
Yeah,
It's only after he runs out that he smacks a Trolloc in the head. But it's one Trolloc. That's what
I
I'm
know
saying.
what
The
you're-
numbers are
but
small.
what I'm saying is, 4 Trollocs got killed. But remember, the Trollocs tried to come in the back, and they actually came in the front because he took them down in the front and told Ran to go in the back, and they were still trying to get in the door, and he sneaked out the window, and that's when they started hunting him. And then he went back, and then he actually killed one when they were all hunting him still. So that's not just 4 Trollocs attacked. That is a number, and only 4 got killed, and they were still out hunting. That's what I'm saying. We're tied down with the numbers. But to me,
We're definitely geeking out too much about
Yeah,
this.
but
But for me,
to me,
the
a
attack
fist,
is
yes,
fine.
100 of them, because you've got ones that are still going to be there. So 100 of them not going to attack. So you might have had 50 between the 2 places. But it's still, I still think that's the number there. If this is to do with the attack at the village at the beginning, it's too high, I would say.
I still like your analysis of the symbolism of this, the dancing to the dead.
Circles.
I still like that.
That's what it's implying, and I don't think it,
The casualty still looks too high to me. Though.
It's wrong as well. But look, because watch, right? Look how they're all dancing. that is the bell time type thing. Although it didn't happen, but look at the funeral. Snow all round. So that's 2 different places.
I don't recall it taking place. I think it was early spring, but spring is extended because
just look at this, right? So look at their dancing. The bits at the top where all the tables are, not a bit of snow.
And then snow.
Then,
but it wasn't snow though. It was just an extended spring.
No, look at it. Look at it. It's all snow because you can see.
Yes, but the book was extended spring.
Sorry, say that again.
The book was extended springtime.
Yes, it's
Stuff
basically
didn't start to
cold.
grow.
It was colder because things were actually still not growing, and it was the winter had been longer. But the fact is, those 2 are different shots, because if they were dancing in the place where they get buried, there was the snow on the ground when they were dancing. That is not within a day or 2 of the previous dance. I think they've just dragged those 2 together. That is somewhere else. That's a different battle. But the fact is, there was no springtime. So let's go on a wee bit further.
The dark one is.
That was basically the White Tower looking up. So it was.
But here we have Fade. That actually looks quite well to me.
Because remember, we saw the picture from behind.
Yeah, from behind it.
And then they had all them. So that is just from above. Although it looks drawn, but in effect, it looks very similar.
Yeah, it looks more like
that's meant
called sketch.
It does look like a sketch, and that's a face. Oh,
we have Lon. That must be Lon.
He looks intimidating, although.
Well, he looks fearless. Someone is trying to, like, I'm threatening to stab you in the throat, and he's just going, really?
Yeah, come ahead. But it's the sword. He's meant to have a heron marked, and that doesn't look as if it's got a heron on it. But
it could be, but you can't see the details.
Friends.
Was that maybe a Trolloc?
No, that's the Trollocs of what the blurry stuff is to the left there.
No, look. Right. Because look at the face, look at all this to the left. See them? They've all got horns and bits and bobs.
Yeah, so for me that would be Trollocs, but they're so indistinct I can't make.
Let's have a look at it again.
Friends.
Aye. These are definitely from all over the book. They're from definitely all over the books. It's not certain things that are happening here and there just don't match up.
Yeah, so I don't recall if was it you hear about the colors of the Ajas
Mm-hmm.
very early on. These are dangerous. These are not so dangerous. Don't worry about these. But meeting and seeing them, that's book 3, isn't it?
Yep. You could even say probably part of book 2, The Great Hunt, but The Dragon Reborn is the bit where the Agyrs are actually more prevalent, because in The Great Hunt, I think Egwene and Nynaeve are actually intervaling and become accepted in novice. Initiate in a novice, and an accepted. So,
Spoiler alert, the training doesn't last long.
aye. I know they consider, they talk about how years and years and years you could be a novice, and it didn't last long.
Anything that matters.
That was the Trollocs.
Well, yeah, it looked like it, and that's definitely Moraine. But I was gonna say, even though the training for Nynaeve and Egwene doesn't last long, they're definitely not Mary Sue's.
Yeah, because it's established that Nynaeve is actually quite powerful anyway, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's established that she's powerful. She just doesn't know how to actually control it. But this is part of it.
The only thing that matters is what you.
She just looked too powerful. She just looked too big. I want to see her next to Lan, and I want to see how the two of them interact. And his sword just doesn't look like the sword described, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry, I got a little bit of Deniso, Deniso from NCSI or NCIS, where he can look at the picture or something and just say, okay, she's this tall, this is her bra size, everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm looking at him and just going, this guy is maybe, but it's a stretch, 6 foot tall. He's maybe 6 foot at most. He's not very tall. And Rosamund Pike is not a small lady.
She's not. She's basically, she looks, she could be an action hero for the Charlie's Angels type, but
Yes.
just looks a bit more powerful than I would expect. Let's see a wee bit more.
So you see,
right?
Did we have the double axe again?
Yeah.
Who's he?
No idea.
There is no double axe wielder.
I don't actually know who that might be. And that was Lan.
But that was dancing. That was dancing.
Yeah,
and it was spell weaving.
Quite well. Because let's do it a bit. Right. That works.
Whatever happens now.
That was good dancing.
That was a good fade.
Yeah.
Although I was a wee bit mouthy.
That's a little bit
because it's the eyes meant to be look like a human except no eyes. There's no eyes, but why did they have to have it as a spiky mouth? It just doesn't.
This is Del Toro for me.
Aye.
Benicio del Toro.
And you saw the Trollocs, so the Trollocs are going to look good. Although you just seen the bits and pieces in the back, you can see they're going to be Trollocs. So, right, this is the part I want to see because to me, she's going to be in the center of it all, weaving, and he's going to be the one dancing around.
That is good visual effect, and yeah. I can't even fault her clothes. She's supposed to look good because she uses her abilities to look good. But if you look at that clothing, that looks like it belongs at this very shot, this very time.
I think it doesn't
look like it was pulled out of a commercial.
Yeah, but the problem is, I think it's too ordinary for Moiraine, unfortunately. I think it's just too ordinary. Moiraine looks like you look at the book and the picture that's in the background of this, that's how, to me, Moiraine should look all the time. Even when she's doing all these, using the power, that she just looks too ordinary, as if she's just, as you said, jumped up off a horse's back after riding 15 miles and not even getting up and clean. That's, to me, not Moiraine. It's a complete opposite. So yes, it might be more realistic, but it's not the fantasy book.
No, but for an action shot, if you came to me presenting this,
Right. Night,
good night, Gwen. Nice to have you here.
Yep.
If you presented this, just this shot that you managed to pause on, and say, "This is Moiraine. We're gonna try and like make the entire series." Would you not say?
I would say that's
200
not
million,
Moiraine,
like,
but it's
60
it's visually stunning shot. But it's, to me, that's not Moiraine. It's a visually stunning shot, no denying, no doubting it. But I think what they've done is try to make it more realistic. Sorry, it's fantasy. I don't want realism. And if you want to be more realistic, then there's no such thing as the one power. There's no such thing as Trolloc. So you can't say you want to be more realistic and have fantasy. To me, that's not Moiraine. Moiraine is the picture.
Oh, I've given up a long time on this
Yeah.
whole thing of people accepting that fantasy worlds are fantasy, not real world.
Yeah. And it's the fact is the book has portrayed Moiraine, the pictures, as I said, the picture where you see Moiraine and she looks a particular way, and this doesn't look like Moiraine to me. Stunningly visual, I think, there's no too many complaints about it. The look's the main thing for certain things. But let's have a look. See if they do the battle with Lan as well. That worked. He's still sort of, I mean, he's obviously
Yeah, you have the dead bodies around. That would be Lan
there
doing his stuff. Yeah.
So you see him there, look, as she's doing her thing. Watch. See, to me, that with the two of them, the dynamic seems quite well. And I think that works. But that's what I'm saying. I have no issues with them trying to be realistic. But when they take something within a book that is portrayed a particular way and say, but it's not too realistic. Well, if you want to be realistic, there's no Trollocs. You can't go say, I want it to be realistic and fantasy. So you can't have both. You either have one or the other. So try to do certain things to make it more realistic, and then have her weaving all the lightning and make herself look taller and fire from her staff. And that's what I'm saying. You can't have one and then say, but I want to be more realistic. You can't. It's a fantasy. So you can have Moiraine looking like that. So you can. So
it's amazing how many things will. I mean, it's a 2-minute trailer, and the things we've been picking up on from the same book that we've read.
Yeah, and that's the bit there. Look at Moiraine and Lan there, right? Just
Yes.
Look at Moiraine there. Look how pristine and thing. That to me, there is nothing like the way it's displayed there. And yes, you could say it's more realism, but I don't care. I don't want realism. If I wanted realism, it certainly wouldn't be actually watching a fantasy show. If I wanted realism, I wouldn't be watching Spider-Man. If I wanted realism, I wouldn't be watching Battlestar Galactica.
I will give you this one. The Balrog, Lord of the Rings.
None
Perfect,
shall pass.
perfect CGI capturing from an artist project 30 years before it happened. It was just like a little bit of flames in the background and like looking like a devil with a horn and everything. And they managed to bring it to life.
Yeah.
Just like
But see, the thing is, I think they could do that, and I think the Trollocs are going to look good. I think the Mandrill basically just looked a wee bit too teethy, right? So let's see what the next wee bit of the thing is going on. Good thing is, I'm an Amazon customer, so I can watch it.
so am I. Allow me a couple of seconds. There's been too much coffee this weekend. Weekend evening. I call it weekend because I'm actually off for the next 2 weeks on annual leave. But that, whatever that last thing was, that was definitely not.
No, that's definitely not. It's basically that's just saying subscribe and stuff like that. So that's just the end credit type thing. But I want to actually dig this out. I did see it there. It's there. The Wheel of Time pilot. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put it in the chat. So anybody who wants to watch the Wheel of Time TV pilot for Winter Dragon, it's the first effectively chapter in the book, the prologue about how it all started. That was done just to keep the rights, and it went nowhere. Is it Billy Zane is in it? So that is the link to the Wheel of Time, the Winter Dragon pilot, and it is really well done. Although it's cheap, it still takes the first chapter very well and does it because it gives the crazy and how he doesn't understand it, and it sort of sticks out. So definitely I would say go with that. And let's see, we're going now. So that is the books and the pilot. What do I think of the pilot? Actually, I feel a lot better about it than I thought. Lan doesn't look like how I pictured Lan. Moiraine doesn't look how I pictured Moiraine. However, I think the rest of them work quite well because they've not just put a lot of different people who look completely different in as a village. It's actually come from a line of people in the last 1,000 years. So yes, they've got a very similar characteristics. They've got similar looks, the dark coloured hair, the darker skin, and the one who stands out is effectively Rand, who's paler skin and red hair, which with the Aiel, they have to have a lot of that as well. So they can't have Aiel from all different, because Aiel men are meant to be all very similar. So you would expect the Aiel to be pale, ginger hair, or a variation on a ginger hair, and they're meant to be tall. So we'll see how that goes, and if they actually keep it up with the way they've done there. I think if they go to the borders, I think if Ran is from the borders, he has to be effectively the benchmark how you're portraying the men from the northern border, the border men, or the southerners, or whatever they're called, the Shienarans and such like. They have to be all Oriental, and it's just because it's from that type of place. And I think it's not going to work if they actually manage to get to the part where the Seanchan. Although I hated when they brought in the Seanchan. I hated when Brandon Sanderson took over the books. I think he added his own stuff in because why, don't know. And then they finished with a whimper rather than a bang, which I was disappointed on. But the first 3 books, or actually the first 5 books are the best 5. But if you're looking for the best book, I would say the first book, because of the world building. The first 3 books are by far the best trilogy of books I've read. The first 5 books in this series are they maintain that look. However, there's books later on where things happen in it, you could say, take that out, it makes no difference to the story. You can take that out. So yes, if they're doing the books, they can literally say, oh, well, that book, we only need about 2 minutes of that book, and that will actually tell you the whole book. You don't need it. There was one book.
It could be, but I will bring you back to the Aiel.
Well, the one book I'm talking about is the one about the shadow Aiel. And the fact is, the book starts and then it goes back in time, and then it ends at the exact same point it started at. So they went in a full circle to explain how they got there. How they got there was really not that important. There was only one or two bits in that book that were relevant to the story. The rest of it was just about how they got to that part of the story. But it was, in effect, the book started and stopped at the same point, because they started it, then they went back and explained how they got there. And you're sitting there thinking, that whole book is a chapter. You could do a chapter on that book, and then the rest of it is irrelevant. It doesn't add anything. And that was all. There was a lot about how they were talking about the Shadow Isle and stuff like that. So, but in effect, they'd already established how the Shadow were acting. So, going into a lot more details and how they got there, it was irrelevant. That's what I mean. It's things like that. But there's certain books, yes, they move it forward, but I don't think they did as well. Like the Aiel culture, there was a book about introduction to the Aiel and all the Forest Del Mar and the clan chiefs and the elder.
Their version of wisdoms and all
Their
that.
version of wisdom was the wise ones, right? So a book was all about that, but in effect, it didn't do as well as the first book for world building, because he just tried to explain one culture and he just sort of dragged it out. Whereas if he'd actually half that book size, he would have done it probably better, because it would have been tighter and more descriptive, rather than dragging things out just to explain how things get there and how things happen. It's almost a case of, I want them to talk about this and I want to tell you everything about this. So we'll do it in 4 paragraphs, or we'll do it in 4 chapters. I'll do it in 4 chapters. We've got plenty of time to actually write this book, because that's all it's about. So we can tidy it up later. And it just seemed to be there's too much information, which didn't do it justice. So I think the first book is the best for world building. After that, the world building is just adding to it. But sometimes the books actually just go into so much detail, you're sitting there thinking, I don't care, because there's too much detail. I want to know who the Aiel are, but I don't care about how this person can say this, but this person can't. There's a structure in how their society works. You don't need to know how everybody talks to everybody else. You just say there is a structure and this is how it's done. And that's what I'm saying. I think the books later on don't do as well in world building. I think the first book is the best one for that.
If you take the Chang'e,
Yeah.
when you first get introduced to them, they just go in, this is our land. This is our place. You're our slaves. We could care less who you are.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I never liked the Shunshan. I hated them.
But they were really nasty. There was nothing redeeming.
They're meant to be,
but still, they
actually treated everybody like crap. And even at the end, when they were talking about the city over the sea, where people actually know if the boats went in, they weren't allowed to leave the fenced off harbour. They weren't allowed to go into the city. There was rumours how anybody who used the power was killed as soon as it manifested and stuff like that, and then right at the very end, a whole army of them come in, and they're all these the wielders, and you're sitting there thinking, there've not even been, there was a couple of paragraphs about them, and then suddenly they're meant to be part of the Dark One's army. Bug off. And that's, to me, is Brandon Sanderson. He basically, we need this army and we need this. Or, like, for instance, you've got the evil Aiel introduced after Robert Jordan died in the Brandon Sandersons. And you're sitting there thinking, they'd never been mentioned up until this point. Never even a hint at anything like that. Yet you're meant to believe that this whole society of evil Aiel, who are all teethy and everything, suddenly they've been there all the time.
I never bought that part. And
it's
the same thing with Shang-Chi. I never bought them as, shall we say, part of Shaitan's army.
But they weren't. That's what I'm saying. They were meant to be the ones.
Exactly, they weren't. They were just their own. They just had their own stuff that they were doing.
Yeah, but the thing is, they were meant to be the army that from across the sea, the original Arthur Lewis Theron's army come back to help, but they've obviously come back and they've decided the only way they can help is by taking over everything, and everybody has to follow their rules. So in effect, it's the saying these people are the army of the light, but they're nasty, and if you get in their way, they'll kill you. So they're no really army of the light. So an army of the light would be like coming back and all these knights coming back, and suddenly they're helping people, not coming back and killing armies just because they don't like the way you're doing it and stuff like that. To me, that's why I disliked the Seanchan so much. I disliked anything Brandon Sanderson did. I think the final book didn't finish with a bang. It finished with a whimper. The big battle it was all leading up to, it was a battle of words between Rand and Beelzebub.
Yeah,
It wasn't a battle as such. It was a battle of words.
the battle at the end of book 2, I believe it is, where Matt is blowing the horn. That actually felt like a good battle compared to even anything that followed, because you have three armies converging on top of each other. You have the Chang-Chi, you have Rand,
Chang-Chi. What is the Chang-Chi? Are you saying the Seanchan?
Seanchan. Sorry,
Right,
the coloring people that steals the Aes Sedai.
Yeah, but see, the Seanchan, they don't appear until later in the books, so they're not in the first 5 books.
Really?
The Seanchan don't turn up until late on.
I'll have to double check my notes, because I'm very certain in book 2, that's where Liandry is kidnapping Nynaeve and Egwene and sells them off to these coloring, like they make Aes Sedai their slaves.
See,
so am I confusing them with someone else?
I think so, because Egwene, right, when she leaves the White Tower, so they have to be in the White Tower first. They have to go start through some of the training so she starts learning, so she can use it, even if it's as a novice. Then they're spirited away by the Aes Sedai who are trying to get rid of them, but they get split up. She ends up on the Wayfarers ships, and she gets taught by them. She ends up in the Ale Waste. She gets taught with them. Later on, when the Seanchan appear, she gets captured by them and gets taught more. So by the time she gets freed by them, she's so powerful, they offer her the Amyrlin seat.
You see, I might have to double check the books here, because I'm starting to get a little bit fussy on where they do enter. But I do recall that Egwene and Nynaeve, they're literally just starting to come into the Amyrlin Tower. When they get there, I can't say for 100% certainly what book it is, but they're literally there for just a couple of weeks. It's just after the assassination attempt, but it wasn't at the Amyrlin Queen. She has a specific name.
It's the Amyrlin seat.
Yeah. But they're literally getting kidnapped after that, because they're following Liandrin. And Liandrin is literally just dragging them to this coastal city with a Seanchan, which I'm probably confusing again. But they're basically being dragged there, and it is Egwene that is being colored. But Nynaeve is, because she reacts with fury. And when she gets angry, then she has the best control of the sword. I don't think so she gets away. Definitely. And the half of the book is literally Nynaeve trying to get in and rescue Egwene, but she gets rescued by, well, not technically rescued, but because of everything else that's going on with the attack from Matt blowing the horn, bringing back the old soldiers. There's white cloaks. There's an army of about 5,000 white cloaks or something ready to just stream in and attack because they think there's just a
Yeah.
bunch of sorcerers and wizards and witches.
I'm just trying to find a bit about the Sean
I
Shan.
could swear that's towards the end of the second book, but
No,
later.
if it is, then it made zero impact on me for the first 3 books. I'd never heard of them, ever heard of them.
So you don't know. Well, do you recall the torture that Egwene is suffering when she's trying to get out of the collar?
Yeah, I remember all that about her being collared, but I'm sure that was later on, and I know the part where she basically she's sold to the Seanchan, but no, it's not that early on in the story because she still has to meet the Aiel. You've still got the hunt for the horns. You've still got her. It's the Dragon Reborn. Land still has to meet the Aiel and that doesn't happen while she is captured by the Seanchan. That is later on when he's established, because it's all about.
I may confuse the Seanchan with whomever it is. Like the evil fleet, they have like these battle cats, like monstrous creatures that walk like besides them, and whenever they walk through the street of any conquered city, the citizens just bow to them. They look down on their own feet and wait for them to pass.
Culture, and they've got the things. I'm just trying to find anything about the Seanchan, just to see what book they appear in.
Because what you're saying is describing a different culture that is coming in a lot later, but this is literally at the very, very beginning of it. The girls haven't even learned properly how to wield the one sword.
Yeah,
they have just started to like figure out a few things, and then they get kidnapped by Liandrin and sold or traded to Changti. The wrong name. They probably have a different name, but I might confuse them.
Right, I've got the Seanchan here. Let's see. An empire located in continent the same name. It's found in the Trolloc Wars recently. So when did it actually turn back up in the books? Come on. What books did it first appear in? That's just the history. That's basically doesn't even tell us.
I'm certain. The name may be wrong, but I'm certain that these evil, absolutely horrible people that you have no sympathy for,
right,
turn up in book 2.
I think it says book 7. Seanchan.
Crown of Swords. That's kind of late.
Right, the page documents the history of the Seanchan was to focus on the start of the Fourth Age, information created, Wheel of Time, storytelling, community purpose, and information. I'm just trying to think. Right. So let's see if we can find one. Seanchan, what books the Seanchan first appeared in. Yep. Wheel of Time, The Hubris of the Seanchan, and Robert Jordan's The Great Hunt.
So that is book number 2.
Yeah. Well, see, they basically, maybe it's just I obviously just completely think me because the Seanchan never interested me. They've obviously been mentioned in it, and I've just utterly forgotten them because it was one of the worst character threads, the Seanchan. Anything to do with the Seanchan did not.
You see, you're not alone there. Although I enjoyed the danger they were bringing because the world was just starting to opening up. But I have a part of the Bulgaria that I almost always skip whenever I reread, and it is the claustrophobic underground people, because it's just like it's chapter after chapters, and all they're really doing is climbing through caverns and caves and not really doing anything. It's not that I hate it. There's no phobia. There's no nothing. But it's like, okay, I understand to get to these people, the name of that escapes me, but to get to them, that is not an easy feat. And first of all, to just get to the mountain where you can get to the caverns, to climb down through the caverns, that's monster
there's-
country.
Not Brian Young joining us. And we'll have to actually wrap up no more than 20 minutes from now, just so you're aware.
Yeah, we will wrap up soon, but
But we'll need to
it-
actually
I
continue.
would say
and
rewatch
you know what
this
we
one.
should do is review books at a time, and we come back and review the first episode. Maybe do a review of each of the episodes and see if they actually live up to it. However, if it turns crap and it is bad, I ain't watching it. I'm the type halfway through a story, I'll switch it off and never watch it. I don't need to finish it.
Yeah, no, you have to keep my interest through and through. If
Yeah.
you're starting to drop off, I will literally go. Fortunately, I can't follow this.
Yeah.
Because
Because
I'm perfectly
if they
happy.
deviate too much from the books, then I'll go, nope. I don't care because I like the books. But yeah, Brian, we're going to be finishing off soon. We've actually been talking, and we actually did a review of the trailer, which is unusual for me.
I would say it starts about 1 hour, 40 minutes in. So if you're rewatching the stream, just jump through that section.
2
Because
hours,
before
40
that, we're just talking about the books.
Aye,
and
2
what we
hours,
recall
40
from them.
minutes in, we are. But the thing is, I'm surprised that a trailer set in a book world created in the current climate actually looks as good as that did.
There were quite a few surprises in there that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
I understand that the current woke climate has to be female of colors and everything, but if I'm looking at the Two Rivers people, so you have the grade 90, Perrin, Matt, they look to be maybe ish from kind of the same place. And this is something that is never really 100% described. All that is really described about the look is that Rand is standing out. Rand looks different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And he does.
He does. See, I thought they were going to actually just mix it up so a village had people from everywhere. And it didn't work because it's meant to be a wee back village that the people all know each other. They all get in, and Rand's mother was notable because she was an outlander. Even though people got on really well with her, loved her, and she was still classed as an outlander. And Rand's parents, no matter what, he's still classed as odd because his mum was an
But even if you take the whole outlander concept, it's, oh, you're strange, you're foreign to us.
Mhm.
It usually means
Rand
there's a
wasn't, even
tight-knit
though he
group.
looks slightly different. Rand wasn't because he grew up there, so he was part and parcel of it. But it was the fact that anybody actually says, "Oh, you look different." His mum was an outlander. Don't worry about it. He's
Yeah,
still
but
a cool
it
little
is,
boy,
she
but-
probably got the brunt of what the wokeists would today call racist or racist, if you're going to follow.
Yeah, in the Two Rivers, I don't think it ever came across. You got it from things like Old Sembui, maybe. But even at that, a lot of people liked her. So it's not as if because she was an outlander, people actually treated her any different. They just didn't. They just knew she was not from there. She was an outlander. Even if she'd been staying there for 50 years, she would have still been known as the outlander because that's just the way it was. Even if they didn't treat her bad or make any issue out of it, it's just she was the outlander. End of story. She obviously didn't last that long. She died when Rand was young. So, but there was
I
never
wonder if
anything
you
bad
will actually
said about it.
pull anything of that in, because if you look at the whole story, it is unfortunately a bit of a spoiler alert, but it's around Rand.
Of course, it is.
All the other characters, Dad,
Are so
Lan, Moiraine, Nynaeve, they have massive story arcs, but it is still the core pillar.
Their master
is
story
Rand.
arcs all begin and end with Rand.
Yes. So I wonder how they will portray that. And again,
Well, the weave weaves as the weave will, the wheel wills. Try to say that. So
the
basically,
wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
wills. Yeah,
That's a tongue twister and all.
yeah. But the thing is, I think what it is a case of, I can't imagine them actually, oh, well, you can't have him as the main part of the character. Or if you have, then it's all the women around him that are guiding him. But that was what he fought against, because he didn't like anybody guiding him. So he would stick out. So if he thought the women around him were trying to do it, he would be, the Two Rivers were stubborn, so he would fight against it. But then again, if he was in amongst a load of high kings and stuff like that, and they tried to manipulate him, he would fight against it. So he didn't care if it was men or women trying to manipulate him. He didn't like being manipulated. If they continue down the road that they maybe have them manipulating them and they're the power behind them, and he doesn't do anything, or if he just goes, oh, it's not fair, I don't like it, well, you'll never survive without us. That's not Rand. That is basically just a bastardization of a good character.
Yeah, it is. But if you look at the whole bit of it,
Yeah, but based on that,
he's
trailer,
Aiel, genetically Aiel, but he's born and raised in Two Rivers, and Two Rivers are known for being people that they may bend but will never break.
aye.
And then you add on top of that, you have Lanman Dragaron, just before he meets the Amyrlin Seat for the first time. Lan is teaching him a bucket load of the border guys, wherever it is he's from. He's teaching him tons of stuff of like regal, royal court manners, all of these things, and speak this way, say these things, do this.
Mm-hmm.
And he picks up on it quickly. And for me, it never felt something that was pushed on his character. It just felt like, oh, this is your character. Here's a little bit of help. What you may need to say, because there will be people attacking your character. Just say this, do this, behave like that, and you will deflect their behavior. And I think the first time he meets the Amyrlin Seat, it's a brilliant showdown. It's just dialogue, but he's just been giving a lot of key points.
Yeah.
It's glorious.
So I'm hoping, based on that trailer, that it's a great show. I think if it is really, really good, I hope they don't go down the route of a lot of things where the first season gets you in, then they start twisting it and it's all identity politics and how all this crap. Fingers crossed. I wasn't expecting to even like the trailer, because I've heard people talking about it and saying, oh, this and that and this and that. And it's a case of you're sitting there going, that doesn't sound right, or that doesn't sound right. But in effect, those don't matter, because as long as they stick to the bare bones of it. So like they seem to have done all the Two Rivers folk. It might be either sallow skinned and dark hair. They seem to stick with that across the board, which is no issue. So you can have someone who's white, it's got a darker sallow skin, or you get someone who's black and it's got a lighter skin. But if they've got all them from the similar village and they've all got a similar like skin tone and hair look and things like that, that works. But they can't go to a village in the middle of nowhere where it's people descending from the same group of people, and you've got everything from the rainbow of colours of people. It wouldn't work unless
no. There is one thing enforcing it, and it's the Manetheren. They have a 1,000-year history. Nothing's ever changed. They're still living on the same ground.
What I'm saying
there hasn't been any movement. So I would say a village that would have had a natural, like a trade route, something. It may have been the rainbow color.
Yeah,
but what is described.
Do you know who should have the rainbow colours? which is very apt because it's the traveling people, the
Yes.
Tuatha, because they travel the whole place and people come to their way of life.
Yes, they pick up
pacifism,
scrappers
the way of
all
the-
over the place.
and they
They
bring in
should be.
travelers. So to me, that is the world. Oh, that's the color. And the thing is, because they're all bright and they always have garish colors. The color of the rainbow sort of works. But the thing is, that is a complete and utter natural. I wouldn't expect to go and see a caravan at the Tuatha and they were all black, or they're all Chinese, or they're all white, or they're all Mexican, or they're all. I wouldn't expect that, because that would be rubbish, because they travel the whole of the world.
But even Ed
And
Wade
they
is
pick up
tempted to
people.
join.
And they try and tempt you, but they don't force you. And you want to join, they're quite happy to take you. They're happy to. But the thing is, that's where you would have that. You would have some of the big cities like Tyr, maybe the ones Eliana, where they're hubs for commercial. Yes, you might have a lot. You might have most of one type of person, but you would have a multitude because it's a place of trade. But you wouldn't expect to go to the Isle Waste and none of them. They've got. It'd be like going to Norway during the pre-Viking era and expecting to see a rainbow of colours of people.
Yeah, well, this is something I definitely expect to be disappointed at. Is the IEL
Has to be all.
are basically described. If you would apologize the word NAZI, but they're very particular. You have to be born by us. You have to be one of us. You have to be raised in this country. Even though Rand is an Aiel, he's not accepted by the Aiels by default. He looks like one of them. He talks like one of them. He walks like one of them, but he's not one of them. They're very closed off. So if I'm starting to see a rainbow color of Aiels, I'm just going to go, no,
That's no them.
that's not
They
them
have
at
to be
all.
tall. They have to be pale because of the waist. They have to be a ginger tint to their hair. The males and the females are as powerful as fighters.
Yeah.
And if I
The-
see
the-
one
basically a
Aiel, if I see
weeping
one
baby.
Aiel, see if I see one Aiel with an axe or a sword. Nope.
Well, basically, a weakling, a defect, the most unfortunate person ever born to the Aiel would still be Red Sonja at her prime when they're like a toddler. That's how I seen the Aiels described.
And
They're tough, they're strong, they live in a hostile environment.
You've got the Farthest Ma, the late Maidens of the Spear.
Yeah.
A whole clan of Amazon warriors. And even in the book, the male clans. The male clan,
If you take the history of the battle
the history
between
of
the
the Aiel
mountain
is-
and the White Tower,
yeah, the history
the
of the
Aiel is just like a constant wave of onslaught. They don't stop. They don't ever stop.
Yeah.
All of them, they throw in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
That's who they are.
Right, the thing is with the Aiel, they've all got clans. The clans will have male and female in them. However, the Maidens of the Spear, the Farthest Ma, even if you're the Redstone clan, you could also be with the Farthest Ma. And it's the same idea with the Wisdoms. The Wisdoms are of no clan and of all clans.
Yes.
The chiefs are of no clan, are of their clan, but they are respected from other clans, even if they've got blood feuds, because they're chiefs and they're taking. And it's the same idea. So if two clans are battling with each other, a wisdom or a wise one can walk between one clan and the other, even if she's part of that clan, and nobody will touch her. A blacksmith can walk between one clan and the next, nobody will touch him because he's a metal worker, and that's a precious, highly sought after. So there is things that happen. but the Fardisma, the Maidens of the Spear, are just as skilled warriors as the men. So
Remind me of this, because you're talking about Maiden of the Spears. That the first Aiel, when you read the books that we actually come across, isn't she the Maiden of the Spear?
Avienda.
Avienda, yeah. And she's, I mean, when I read the book, I don't even think I was a teenager. But when I read the book, it's like, holy crap, this lady scares me. And she's
Avienda.
On
the unfortunate thing for Avienda, she ended up as a wise woman. I think I would have preferred her story as if she was a Fardisma and a Maiden of the Spear throughout. Unfortunately, I could see why they went down that, because they had to actually make her a wise one, and then she's the White Tower try to drag her in because she can channel and the wise ones can channel and all that. It's the same as the thing is, throughout the books they're building up how he's bringing all these peoples together, and then they bring the Seanchan in, it rips it apart, and you're sitting there thinking, don't. That's why I didn't like the Seanchan. Anyway, ladles, jelly spoons, boys and girls, lassies and laddies, and everybody. We're going to finish up in the next couple of minutes. So, Jim, 2 questions, just a quick wee bit. What did you think of the trailer, and what are your hopes for it?
The trailer actually surprised me, being in the current wokest day and age and everything. I have a feeling we only got to see good cherry picks. I have a feeling they're going to try and somehow screw up what is already amazingly strong females. And they're going to make them elite level starting out, never giving them a story arc to improve themselves. They're just going to be the best, and it's going to be flatline from there. There's going to be no improvement. But visuals, that was actually quite good. That was way better than I expected. As in, I like it. I know there's going to be a few issues that I don't like, because I like the attention of details to dirty clothing, dressed down, it matches the background. Unfortunately, a few of the things I saw, it literally looked like was just pulled out of a laundry commercial for a new detergent and just put on.
Yeah.
It's too bright for the background. It's too bright for the shot. That always breaks my immersion.
Yeah.
But I can survive it if that is the only flaw. But if the flaws build up beyond that, it's like you have too modern of a weapon for what you're supposed to be. I would not want to see a farmer's village that has been ignored for hundreds of years. So not even the closest city, Camelin, knows who they are. And it's only like a 3-week travel from where they are. Camelin should still know who they are. But no, if you're that far out that the nearest city has forgotten who you are, I would not expect you to have nice clothing, their fashion style, because fashion styles changes frequently. I would not expect that. That is a wardrobe failure rather than anything else, but it still breaks the immersion. The hopes for the show, the trailer is giving me some hope. I will forgive quite a few, shall we say, wokest steps, because I know that they want to play to this crowd too. But if you're breaking the book, if you're starting to tell me stories from book 5 in episode 2, I'm just going to go, no, there's a reason it's book 5, because there was a lot of story to tell to get to book 5.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, I'm surprised I enjoyed the trailer. I thought there was a lot of potential in it. It looks as if it could go. Yes, it looks like they've actually mixed a couple of in the season. The trailer, I'm assuming, is for the full season. So I think they've mixed books 1, 2, and 3. in the first season. So see how it goes. However, the things that will annoy me is the opposite from what will annoy you. So I don't care about the clothes, but I do care about certain parts of the clothes. Like, for instance, Moiraine's outfit. That was the Moiraine. Moiraine she looked like a traveller. She didn't look like a princess who could kick your ass.
I would have
letting her-
loved it more light blue, royal blue, than like deep.
No, it had to be. I think it had to be it could be light blue or royal blue, but it didn't have to be the jacket. The I'm ready to travel and fight if I need to. I want her to look like a demure thingy, who lets people actually believe, oh, she's just a wee thing over there, but she's one of the most powerful in the room or any place she goes to. She's one of the most powerful. People see her and see Rand and think, oh, he's just a bodyguard. When they realise he's there to keep them safe, because if they try and attack her, they could end up in really big trouble. So the fact that he's intimidating and posing keeps trouble away, so people don't get hurt because they think they can rob her or stuff like that and attack her. So that's why I'm wanting the demure Moiraine and the big powerful Lan. As long as the two their juxtapositions work, so like she's standing there in the middle of it all, bringing hailstone, thunder and lightning down on everything, and he's the one dancing around her, keeping her safe, while she's keeping everybody else safe. That's what I want to see. However, if they actually start getting it so she's wearing traveling clothes and she looks like everybody else, no. The books actually
she definitely
describe it. She
stands out constantly.
Yeah. So if she was dressed the same as everybody else and none of them, you could say, yep, that's Moiraine just at a picture. No, that's not how. So,
but the clothes, thing is, if I recall it correctly, it's probably even until book 4, Nynaeve, who loves Lan, is so jealous of how gorgeous Moiraine looks.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore she should have all these characters, these traits that Nynaeve isn't.
Yeah. But Nynaeve is same again. You would expect the women to be cleaner than the guys, no matter what. Because human nature, bugger it. Women actually look after themselves a lot more than most men.
Splash of water, it's fine.
What do you mean, Dove with essential oils? Any carbolic, that'll do me. I mean, it's that type of thing. If I'm going,
give me the sandpaper. I'll dry my face off with the sandpaper. You can have the fluffy towel.
But that's the thing. It's a case of silly things like you got them, you got washed. Does it matter if it's Dove essential oil or it's carbolic? Soap. We don't care. But it's that type of thing. So you would expect the males in the story to be a bit scruffier. It'd be like turning around and saying, would you expect every male to be scruffier? No. Would you expect every female to be pristine? No. But it's on the majority. You take it gone that way. But
I'll give you a good different example between two male characters here. Rand and the brother of
Gareth,
the first princess, when he falls into the garden.
Galliard.
Yeah, Galliard, yes. So Rand was definitely be scruffy looking, probably smelly, a little bit of like soot marks and whatnot, and like untangled hair. Whereas the prince would be perfectly combed, nice, clean, perfect dressed, clean clothing, looking like a freaking commercial compared to Rand.
Yeah.
In that sense, I would understand that.
Yes, exactly. But I think the trailer has got me interested, which I'm surprised at because I was worried. But as long as they stick to it here home, worries for the future is they'll get you in and then they start changing things and then they say, oh, well, this person does that. Wait a minute, that person's A, no in the book, and B, the person that's meant to represent was nothing like that. So you've created a new character with the same personality, but it completely changed. It'd be like having Padding Fane, and Padding Fane suddenly turns out to be one of the ones that helps him.
No, that's not going to happen. But I did have a slight hang on from what you said, because I know we should probably round off now. But
Yeah.
you said, where is for another day? And I just gone, Fraggle Rock. Where is for another day?
Down at Fraggle Rock. See, I've seen two versions of Fraggle Rock. There was the one later on, which was the American one that had the guy with the dog. There was one with Fulton Mackay.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm sure Fulton Mackay played in Fraggle Rock. And then before we finish off, I want to actually do a quick check just to make sure I've not actually, it's not the Mandela effect. So we shall go to IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Fulton, because any time I've hunted for it and any time I've even looked, where's Fulton Mackay? There he's there, Fulton Mackay, Porridge actor. Biographies. So, Fraggle Rock, Lost in Space, Porridge, King and I, here's Porridge there. Ballamore, Masters of Balance Racer, not sure it's sure. Where is Fraggle Rock on? That's his early stuff. Doctor Who, he played Dr. Quinn in the Doctor Who and the Silurians. Fulton Mackay was in Doctor Who. I didn't even remember that one.
Wow.
Dr. Finlay. Man, right, so it's a lot later than that, right? So 71. Some mothers do have him. I knew he was in that. The Vital Spark, I knew he was in that because I've got a copy of the Vital Spark.
So we were doing programming classes back
Yeah.
in 1995,
Yeah.
6 or 7. They're a bit of a blurry years, but it was basically computer, do this programming language, learn how to tell the computer to do something.
Yeah.
And someone had managed to get
Fraggle song.
the pirated copies of these things. So we had Fraggle Rock and Weird Al Yankovic, his cover version of Lola, but it was Yoda.
Yeah. Well, the Fraggle Rock was called Fraggle Songs, and he played the captain, the UK version. 1983 to 1984. So he played the captain in Fraggle Rock. So there you go. I was right. I thought it was a Mandela effect because nobody ever remembered it. But there you go.
I'm up to about 80 lines of backlog now in my notepad.
I've got a lot backlog as well. I've actually got TV programs, but I'm looking forward to this. It's Amazon and it's next month. So what, 2.5 weeks?
What do you say if
October, November, so 6 weeks.
Yeah, but so we've already discovered that we have a few areas where we go, okay, this person, maybe this bit.
Yeah.
But if we look at it and like review it,
that's not what we would expect, because the two of us are not going to expect the exact same. We're not going to hate the exact same. We're not going to like the exact same. We might like the general program, but that wee bit of noises, that bit Disney, that bit of noises, that bit I love, that bit. That's the way it is. I hate the Sean Shannon, and I know a lot of people who have read the book think the Sean Shannon are a great creation character.
I'm in the middle on that one. They did add danger, as in fear and horror and like scariness.
Yeah, but see, the problem is, to me, the Dark, the Trollocs, the Mandrill, the Dark Friends should have done that. Why bring someone in who's meant to be on the good side and you can't tell if they're on the good side or the bad side. So sorry. If you're so ambiguous that you don't know if you're an enemy or a friend, then I'll treat you as an enemy, and I'll treat you and assume you are working for the dark. And if you tell them you're working for the dark and they get annoyed, tough, look the way you act the same as if someone who is a dark friend. And that's
am I going to have to be the cynic here and go, PJ, we're showing our age here, because both you and I have definitely reached the age where we're going, shoot first, ask questions later.
No. I'm a wee bit older. I shoot first and go, don't ask. Don't ask, don't tell.
Okay, I'm definitely not at that stage yet,
Yeah,
but I'm definitely at the age where I'm going,
Yeah,
I'll shoot,
Hi.
then we can talk what happens.
Yeah, shoot first, ask later. I'll just shoot first. Don't care. I don't want to know. But anyway, we're going to finish up there. And thanks, ladies and gents, for keeping up with us. And remember, I'm not old. I'm classic. PJ maybe, and Jim the Viking out.